Chapter 300. After all, Ao Qian had once invited the Black Serpent on behalf of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. However, at that time, the Black Serpent was just an awakened beast. Although it had the dragon bloodline, its future potential was hard to predict. Therefore, Ao Qian had only casually mentioned it. However, the Black Serpent was no longer the same as before. Just its growth speed alone was enough to crush all the young talents of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. From a beast to the peak of the wisdom state in less than a year. What kind of concept was that? Anyway, as a young genius of the dragon race, when Ao Qian heard this news, her first reaction was that someone was telling her a story. However, after confirming it repeatedly, she realized that it was true. Moreover, the main character was the Black Serpent she had seen before. In addition, other than its own strength and growth speed, the Black Serpent's subordinates were also extraordinary. Although the land beasts under the Black Serpent's command were of no value to the sea beasts, the Black Serpent now controlled the northern frontier and almost all the production of spiritual items in the Stoneclaw Forest. Even if the sea beasts did not need those, they could still bring in huge profits. The value of the Black Serpent now was completely different from the Black Serpent before. Lin Yuan narrowed his heterochromatic eyes and sized up Ao Qian for a moment. He said in a deep voice, "Senior, I need to consider this matter. After all, I am still the Beast King of the Hengduan mountain range, am I not?" Considering that if he directly rejected it, he might trigger Ao Qian's killing intent. Therefore, Lin Yuan chose to be steady. For the current him, he was surrounded by powerful enemies. Only when his strength was truly strong would he be able to accept the test. However, to give up on himself and become a lackey of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas in order to obtain the bloodline powers recognition was not an option that Lin Yuan would choose. Moreover, the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas could not guarantee that he could successfully awaken his bloodline. Therefore, Lin Yuan needed time. If he could obtain the bloodline powers recognition, his strength would be able to smoothly enter the Mountain Lord realm. At that time, even if Ao Qian wanted to kill him, he would still be able to fight back. If he waited until Ao Qian ran out of patience and still did not awaken his bloodline power, Lin Yuan could only throw away his old face and rush into the depths of the Hengduan mountain range to seek protection from the Beast King court. He did not believe that Ao Qian would dare to pursue him. Ever since he met with Kirin, the Hengduan mountain range, the Beast King had entered a bloody period. Beast King Kirin the Hengduan mountain range killed many of the other factions hidden in the mountains. Even the Inferno Hell demon subordinates, that of the lords, who had been hiding, who was who of the Purgatory Beast King. Of Beast King of us. Even Raymond, Keiho, and Saburo, the three great Beast Kings, were currently being investigated. One could vaguely see that the Beast King Kirin had set up a large net. People like Lin Yuan who had hidden things that other demon beasts would not see the light of day were actually safe. However, Beast King Kirin would rather kill the wrong person than let the wrong person go. The Hengduan mountain range during this period was extremely bloody and violent. If it was not necessary, Lin Yuan did not want to enter. If a foreign dragon bloodline demon beast entered the Hengduan mountain range, it would probably be torn to pieces in a matter of minutes. Ao Qian's eyes flashed with joy. She nodded with a smile and said, "It's fine. Take your time to think about it. Once you've handed over the matters at hand, follow me back to the Western Sea Dragon Palace. I will ask for instructions from the higher-ups and give you the best resources to awaken your bloodline." Lin Yuan still smiled and nodded. He still did not speak. Only after obtaining the bloodline's recognition could one become a true flood dragon? Then, what was the recognition of the flood dragon bloodline? Lin Yuan thought carefully for a moment. Suddenly, his heterochromatic eyes lit up. In his previous life, there were two types of flood dragons. One type lived in seclusion deep in the mountains and forests and did not come out. They only focused on cultivation and might often hide in the cold ponds deep in the mountains. The other type of flood dragon was different. They liked to come out and cultivate. In the ancient legends of his previous life, there were often monsters that controlled rivers and lakes. Most of them were aquatic monsters, but there was no lack of flood dragons. After all, there were too many mysteries in the sea. The strength of a flood dragon was not enough to roam freely. However, in his previous life, besides the mythical dragon king of the four seas, most of the people referred to flood dragons in the rivers, lakes, and seas. Could it be that if I want to obtain the recognition of the flood dragon bloodline, I have to choose one of these two cultivation methods? Lin Yuan gently shook the snake's head. His eyes gradually deepened. Come out or enter the world. Although it wasn't clear how the dragon bloodline demonic beasts of this world obtained the recognition of their bloodline, the difficulty was undoubtedly very high. For example, among Subaru's descendants, not to mention the three-eyed Sacred Heart ape, even the three-eyed Sacred Heart ape could be counted on one's fingers. As for whether or not the bloodline above Subaru would be the inheritance of some incomparably terrifying ancient creature, no one knew. In any case, among the apes of the Hengduan mountain range, Subaru's bloodline was the noblest and strongest. As for Lin Yuan, with the assistance of the system, it was hard to say how far his bloodline could evolve. However, if the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas really existed, it meant that the legends of his previous life were not groundless. Then, the strongest dragon that Lin Yuan knew of would be the ancestral dragon that was born after the creation of the world by Pangu. Lin Yuan did not know if he could evolve to the level of the ancestral dragon. However, Lin Yuan was sure that his upper limit was definitely not a mere waterflood dragon. Then let's try to enter the world and cultivate. Lin Yuan recovered from his thoughts. Ao Qian was already nowhere to be found. Obviously, she was very satisfied with Lin Yuan's answer and wanted to give Lin Yuan enough time and trust. Therefore, when Lin Yuan was thinking, she had already quietly left. Lin Yuan. Were all River Lord level demonic beasts so easily deceived? After fighting with humans and some old monsters hiding in the Hengduan mountain range for a long time, Lin Yuan's first reaction was that he was not used to seeing a fellow with a different style. However, after thinking about it, as a River Lord level demonic beast, it was hunting down a wisdom perception dove serpent. Even the task of roping in Lin Yuan had fallen on its head. Almost all of them were easy and highly paid people. Although Ao Qian did not mention it, her position in the Dragon Palace of the West Sea was definitely not low. For such an existence, ordinary demonic beasts would not dare to play tricks with it. Even humans would subconsciously avoid it. Only a cheat like Lin Yuan would deceive it. Lightly shaking his head, Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile. He wriggled his snake body and walked towards the City Lord Mansion of Shunning City. Chapter 301. The next day, early morning, a government decree was issued from Shunning City's City Lord's Mansion and quickly spread to every town under the jurisdiction of the 7 cities in the northern frontier. Every human settlement built along the river had to add a new item during the planning of the buildings. Dragon King Temple. In fact, this government decree was originally issued from the King's Mansion in the northern frontier. However, before this, the 7 cities in the border were almost equivalent to a land of exile. Naturally, no one would be willing to come to a place that was harassed by demon beasts every day to claim the title of king. Therefore, no King's Mansion was built. There were only a few suitable buildings and could only be rebuilt. Currently, it was still in the preparation stage. Naturally, Lei Fan did not move to the King's Mansion in the northern frontier. He only temporarily stayed in Shunning City's City Lord's Mansion, waiting for the construction of Mountain Blocking City. If those nobles were to know that the northern frontier could monopolize the lucrative business of demon beasts, perhaps demon beasts would not be able to stop these nobles from yearning for profit. And Lin Yuan had been born for a year and finally had an official title, Blackwater Dragon King, Lin Yuan. Before this title, no matter what attitude one had towards Lin Yuan, they had to address Lin Yuan as Black Snake or Black Snake Beast King. But after this title, they would either address him as Blackwater Dragon King or Lin Yuan. Calling him Black Snake was more or less an insult. Most people and demon beasts scoffed at Lin Yuan's behavior. In their opinion, this Black Snake only had a slightly better aptitude, but in essence, he was still just a demon snake. He was still far from being part of the Dragon Clan. Even the lord of the dragon palace of the four seas dared to call himself the Dragon King. Since when did a mere wisdom demon snake have the right to call himself the Dragon King? But surprisingly, Lin Yuan's behavior of calling himself the Dragon King, Hengduan Mountain Range, Shenwu Dynasty, and the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas were surprisingly silent, as if they had tacitly approved of this matter. After all, in everyone's opinion, Black Snake was now one of their own, wasn't it? The title of Black Water Dragon King was conferred by the king of the northern frontier. In theory, Lin Yuan was the official young god who ruled the northern frontier under the Shenwu dynasty. If the evil beasts on the northern frontier wanted to cause trouble, they had to show some respect to the Black Water Dragon King. As for the Hengduan Mountain Range, it was even simpler. No matter what achievements Lin Yuan had outside, as long as he had not severed ties with the Hengduan Mountain Range, then Lin Yuan was one of the beast kings of the Hengduan Mountain Range. Now, this beast king not only ruled the territory of the Hengduan Mountain Range, but also expanded his territory to the northern frontier of the Shenwu dynasty. What could they oppose? As for the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, it was purely for their own amusement. In their opinion, Lin Yuan would be one of them sooner or later. And judging from the speed of Lin Yuan's growth, Lin Yuan was indeed qualified to compete for the position of the Dragon King in the future. Therefore, they naturally had no objection to Lin Yuan being conferred the title of king in advance. After all, the Northern Frontier Water Tribe did not belong to the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not touch anyone's cake. On the contrary, whoever could completely rope in Lin Yuan was equivalent to adding a new force out of thin air. Of course, although the three forces had tacitly agreed, there were still many existences who did not address Lin Yuan as the Black Water Dragon King. After all, they did not admit that Lin Yuan was qualified to be conferred the title of Dragon King. Therefore, they called Lin Yuan Wild Python. Since Lin Yuan was born, he had been in battle almost all the time. He fought with demonic beasts and humans. From the fights between individuals for survival and strength, to later wars to expand his territory and obtain better resources, countless existences that blocked Lin Yuan's path were annihilated one after another. Even Mountain Blocking City, one of the 7 border cities, was annihilated by Lin Yuan's attack. Later, Shunning City, which gathered the forces of the 7 border cities, also fell under Lin Yuan's attack. Facing the Xiong Wujuan army of the Shenwu dynasty's counterattack, Lin Yuan had no intention of backing down. He directly fought back fiercely and defeated the Xiong Wujuan army. Just when Lin Yuan accepted the imperial edict, and everyone thought that the Black Snake was afraid and was about to start to quiet down, Lin Yuan once again made an earth-shattering movement. It should be known that although the positions of Yang God and Yin God existed, those who could be conferred the titles were either demonic beasts raised by the major sects and dynasties, or those whose cultivation path was not smooth. They simply attached their divine thoughts to the statues and absorbed the power of faith and incense to cultivate. All in all, Lin Yuan's behavior is absolutely more than enough to be called crazy. After all, Lin Yuan was not an indigenous person of this world at all. He himself was a cheat with the system. Unless there was an absolute gap in strength between the two sides, Lin Yuan would not be in awe of anything. However, this kind of behavior was indeed arrogant in the eyes of the indigenous people of this world. Congratulations to the host for being conferred the title of Young God by the Shenwu dynasty and unlocking a new model, incense model. At the same time, the system's notification sounded. It had been exactly 1 year since Lin Yuan had come to this world. During this year, Lin Yuan had killed countless people and provoked many strong enemies. Many people looked up to him, from a small black snake who relied on catching mice to embark on the road of cultivation. He had become the Black Water Dragon King, who suppressed the entire northern frontier. Lin Yuan opened the incense model with his mind and began to read it carefully. Every time the system launched a new template, it would bring a lot of surprises to Lin Yuan. For example, the war template, which Lin Yuan had previously regarded as a chicken rib, had a war treasure trove that refreshed regularly, and it provided Lin Yuan with a star chart that could be used to cultivate demonic power. Lin Yuan immediately became interested in it. After all, although the system did not do anything, the sentence, "the products of the system must be the best," was still applicable. Lin Yuan faintly had a premonition that perhaps the promotion of his bloodline power would depend on this incense-burning model. Name: Lin Yuan. Title: Black Water Dragon King. Affiliation: Shenwu Dynasty, Northern Frontier Believers. 0 Incense Model. 0 Description: The host has no believers and no power of incense, so the function of the incense model has not been unlocked. The host is requested to develop believers as soon as possible and collect the power of incense to unlock the various subfunctions of the model. Lin Yuan was speechless. This time, he did not want to complain about the system for not doing anything. But then again, how was he going to develop believers and collect the power of incense? Was he going to ask people to come to the Dragon King Temple to make a wish, and then fulfill their wishes in his own way? Well, it was not impossible. The only problem was, what if people came to make a wish and said that they wanted a son? After all, in the TV series he had watched in his previous life, it seemed that the believers who went to the temple to make a wish were either asking for a son or a marriage, right? He really could not help with this kind of thing. Chapter 302. 15 days later, the first Black Water Dragon King Temple had been completed. Lin Yuan was there personally to witness the entire process. However, he was after all a newly ascended god. Although the people of the Northern Frontier knew that the Black Snake could bring them a huge amount of wealth, and were willing to support the Black Snake, there was still a difference between a proper god and a ruler. The people who were present were just giving face to the Black Snake and the King of the Northern Frontier. But towards this newly ascended god, they did not have much expectation. However, the attitude of the people of the Northern Frontier was one thing, and Lei Fan's attitude was another. He was obviously very familiar with this kind of bootlicking. Lin Yuan did not even have a single believer now. But regardless of whether it was building the Dragon King Temple or hiring the Dragon King's priests and cultivators, Lei Fan had done it with the highest standards. Even if the Buddhism sect's Freedom Courtyard were to build a branch, it would only be of this scale. Lei Fan had even specially selected a group of elite warriors from the guards of the Northern Frontier to guard the Dragon King Temple. In all aspects of bootlicking, Lei Fan was simply unmatched. After a series of operations, even Lin Yuan felt that it was a little ridiculous, but for some unknown reason, it was very useful. From a certain perspective, Lei Fan could be considered to have made preparations in advance. In the future, there would be no need to waste time to expand the temple. After all, things like gifting children and marriages to others were things that Lin Yuan was indeed unable to do. But to protect the Northern Frontier and ensure a smooth weather was not a problem for Lin Yuan, who had the blood sacrifice wishing technique. Even if Lin Yuan was unscrupulous and used special methods on those regions that did not believe in him, although he would not be popular, he would still be able to obtain the power of incense. In the stories, those villagers who had offered their children as blood sacrifices to the Dragon King, were they really willing? It was just that Lin Yuan didn't want to use such a despicable method. In the following period of time, the Black Water Dragon King temples in the Northern Frontier would be built one after another, and the priests of each Dragon King temple would also meet with the representatives of the aquatic beasts in the Northern Frontier under the leadership of Lin Yuan. After all, the affairs in each region were basically communicated by the priests and the aquatic beasts. As long as things didn't become too big, Lin Yuan wouldn't show up. If he had to do everything by himself, why would he raise these subordinates? After he was done with most of the matters, Lin Yuan placed a strand of his divine will onto the golden snake statue that Lei Fan had hired a master sculptor to sculpt with a large sum of money. In this way, when the believers prayed to the snake statue, Lin Yuan would be able to sense it. And the more devout the believer was to Lin Yuan, the higher the possibility that Lin Yuan would be able to sense it. As for those who didn't have a sincere heart coming in to make a wish, Lin Yuan wouldn't be able to sense it at all. Even if Lin Yuan had the ability to fulfill the wishes of others, it wouldn't be like doing charity, as long as they were willing to come to his Black Water Dragon King temple to pray. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to maintain the nobility and mystery of the gods, Lin Yuan would even want to equate the power of incense with wishes to make a deal with these believers. However, in the early stages, even if Lin Yuan was able to attract a certain number of believers, the other party might not be able to provide him with much power of incense. Therefore, at this initial stage, every time Lin Yuan fulfilled the wishes of others, it could be said that he was making a loss. After the divine will was engraved, Lin Yuan smiled gently. Although it was only a strand of divine will now, after it had absorbed enough power of incense, this strand of divine will would give birth to its own intelligence and become a special existence that belonged to Lin Yuan but had its own will. One day, it could even condense its own physical body and become the Lord Dragon King of all places. Regarding Lin Yuan's apotheosis and temple building, every move was observed by countless forces. However, most of them felt that Lin Yuan was just wasting the resources and time in his hands to do some useless work. After all, at this moment, Lin Yuan was the leader of the younger generation of the demonic beasts in the entire Hengduan Mountains. He might not be the strongest, but his growth rate was the fastest among the demonic beasts. For such an existence, the cultivation of the Yang spirit and the Yin spirit seemed to be of no use. Only a few existences who had suffered losses at the hands of Lin Yuan would show a thoughtful look when faced with Lin Yuan's strange behavior. Since the birth of the Black Serpent, it was not that it had never suffered losses, but the existence that could make it suffer losses was absolutely rare. The Black Serpent would not waste time and energy on inexplicable things, so they were now very curious about what the Black Serpent's actions at this juncture meant. Shenwu Dynasty, the inner city of the imperial capital, imperial study. Lei Qiuxing crossed his arms in front of his chest, and a dignified expression appeared on his dignified face. Although he did not know what the Black Serpent wanted to do, he was very clear that once the Black Serpent was completely apotheosized in the northern frontier, it would be completely impossible for him to take back the ruling power of the northern frontier in the future. After all, the ruler of the northern frontier could be changed, but the people of the northern frontier were still the same people. As long as they believed in the Black Serpent would never die. No matter what means he used to rule the northern frontier belonged to the Shenwu dynasty, but it was an existence independent of the imperial court. Your Majesty, you don't have to worry. What the Black Serpent wants is not necessarily to rule the northern frontier. Zhang Xiu smiled, but a cold light flashed in his eyes. He said in a deep voice, I have heard that the dragon clan of the Four Seas have bloodline shackles in their bodies. If they want to break these shackles, they must become a god and use the power of faith to complete the transformation of their bloodline. Otherwise, they must be trapped in a place and find a new path that does not rely on the power of their bloodline. In fact, there were very few monsters who chose to cultivate themselves instead of awakening the power of their bloodline. It was like asking a rich second generation not to spend a single cent of the property left by their ancestors and to go out to work to earn money. It was possible, but not necessary. This was especially so for the members of the dragon race of the Four Seas. They would not choose to walk their own path. After all, the dragon race was a race that had existed since the ancient times. Anything that was related to the dragon race could be described as precious and powerful. The path that the younger generation found might not be as powerful as inheriting the power of the bloodline. Transforming into a dragon? Lei Qiuxing's face was as gloomy as water. He narrowed his eyes and asked. Now, the other party was just a Black Serpent, but it had already gained the title of Berserk Python. If this Black Serpent was allowed to complete the steps of transforming into a dragon, would it really become an existence like the Dragon King in the future? Here it comes again. Zhang Xiu rubbed his eyebrows helplessly and said in a deep voice, Your Majesty, I have said before that the Black Serpent is willing to accept the imperial edict. It means that it has no intention of being enemies with us for the time being. If the Shenwu dynasty was at its peak, I would naturally advise Your Majesty to kill the Black Serpent as soon as possible. But now, it is impossible. Chapter 303. Qingjiang Dynasty and Xuanjin Dynasty were still stationed at the border. and there was still Qing Peng King who had gathered his troops to rebel. The Xinwu dynasty was not as powerful as before, and it could even be said that it was on the verge of collapse. The troubles at hand had not been solved yet, and this emperor actually wanted to fight with Black Snake? If it were not for Lei Qiuxing's almost abnormal desire for power and control, he and the aristocratic families in the Xinwu dynasty would not be in such a situation today. His twin brother Lei Qiuming would not have to start a rebellion, and that terrifying force that could casually point out the four major forces to encircle and suppress the Xinwu dynasty would not have fallen out with the Xinwu dynasty. Every sip and every peck is predetermined. Now all the consequences that Lei Qiuxing was facing were the cause that he had sown in the past. But then again, if it were not for Lei Qiuxing's absolute control over the Xinwu dynasty, this new dynasty that was born out of the destruction of the Wanjian dynasty would not have leaped to become a feared existence among the seven dynasties. Therefore, no one could say whether this kind of ruling method was good or bad. Humph! Lei Qiuxing snorted heavily and said in a cold voice, I would rather have my foundation fall into the hands of others than let a demonic beast grow big under my eyes. Zhang Xiu, let me ask you one more time. I want you to go to the northern frontier to kill that Black Snake. Will you go or not? Your Majesty, Zhang Xiu's expression was difficult. He frowned and said, Now that the remnants of the Zhou clan have reached the end of their tether, they have strangely stopped all their actions. I suspect that the remnants of the Zhou clan will soon erupt with a more terrifying side. If I leave the emperor now, I'm afraid there will be a change in the imperial capital. Your Majesty, please reconsider. Without the support of the Hengduan mountain range, the remaining members of the Zhao clan were like grasshoppers after autumn. They wouldn't be able to survive for more than a few days. As long as Black Snake didn't die, they would be abandoned. However, if Black Snake died in their hands, the Hengduan mountain range wouldn't let go of these traitorous pawns. In addition, Black Snake still had the Demon Emperor Association in his hands. There was no need for him to play with the remaining members of the Zhao clan. Even if Black Snake was willing, the Demon Emperor Association wouldn't agree. At this moment, the surviving members of the Zhao family were doing their last craziness before they were destroyed. As long as they had a chance, there was nothing they couldn't do. Lei Qiuxing's face darkened when he heard Zhang Xiu's concern. Lei Qiuxing slowly put down his crossed arms and said with a fake smile, Zhang Xiu, you mean to say that you are looking down on me, right? The Xinwu dynasty was all alone. Everything is under my control. Even if you weren't in the imperial capital, what can a bunch of surviving members of the previous dynasty do? Lei Qiuxing was extremely dissatisfied with Zhang Xiu's belittling. Zhang Xiu could only smile bitterly for a moment and didn't dare to say anything else. Lei Qiuxing might be a mighty ruler, but Lei Qiuxing, who was born in the military, didn't like to play politics. Lei Qiuxing treated those dirty tricks as something that only trash would play. If he really wanted Lei Qiuxing to fight with the remaining members of the Zhao clan, the only possibility was that the embroidered uniform guards in the imperial capital would suffer heavy losses. After all, His Majesty was used to crushing everything. It wasn't impossible for him to follow the clues and drag out his opponents one by one. However, he would have to suffer a few losses first. Unfortunately, the Xinwu dynasty's strength in all aspects was very tight. Even a small pawn couldn't be casually mobilized, let alone killed. For a moment, the ruler and subject fell into a strange silence. Neither of them spoke first. In the end, Lei Qiuxing sighed deeply and said in a low voice, Fine. Although I don't know why you insist on protecting this Black Snake. You and I have been ruler and subject for many years. Our friendship surpasses that of brothers. I'll listen to you this time, but I don't want the next time. Lin Yuan didn't know that the turmoil from the Xinwu dynasty had been suppressed by Zhang Xiu's insistence before it had even begun. However, to him, the real trouble had already come knocking on his door. Black Snake, this is the first time we've officially met, right? The shrunken lord looked like a true pure-blooded dragon. He was covered in crimson scales and had 4 sharp claws. Just looking at him was enough to give Lin Yuan a huge shock. However, Lin Yuan could see that the other party's appearance was just a skin bag. There wasn't even a trace of dragon blood in his body. How should I address you? Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and asked in a relaxed tone. He was no longer the little black snake that the other party could casually crush with a wave of his hand. Now, whether it was his strength or his status, they had both greatly improved. Not to mention, he also had the secret of this lord in his hands. Even if there was a difference of 2 realms, Lin Yuan could still communicate with the other party on equal terms with a calm face. Now, Zhu Xian could directly tear him apart if he didn't agree with him. However, he could also guarantee that as long as he died in Zhu Xian's hands, the fact that Zhu Xian was a purgatory demon beast would soon be known by everyone. At that time, whether it was the Hengduan mountain range or the 7 dynasties, there would be no place for Zhu Xian. This was Lin Yuan's confidence now. Zhu Xian. The Lord wasn't angry. He just smiled gently and said in a low voice, "I'm here today to ask how long your subordinates plan to stay here with me. Also, what you promised me before, when will you do it?" When Zhu Xian first captured Mengdu, he thought that Mengdu was Black Snake's right-hand man. However, after Mengdu left, Black Snake promoted Na Qin and didn't seem to be affected at all. After being raised by Black Snake for so long, Zhu Xian suddenly realized that to Black Snake, no matter how the team changed, Black Snake was the absolute core of the team. No matter how the others changed, it wouldn't affect Black Snake. Mengdu? Oh, I would have forgotten if you didn't mention it. Thank you for taking care of my subordinates during this period. Lin Yuan gave Zhu Xian an awkward but polite smile. Although he already knew that Mengdu had been captured by Zhu Xian, Lin Yuan had been looking for the base of Zhu Xian's forces for the past 2.5 months. Although there were many purgatory demon beasts under Zhu Xian's command, their territories were not connected. They were scattered in the Hengduan mountain range and were not close to the Stonetalan forest. Lin Yuan wanted to save Mengdu, but he was powerless. He was about to give up, but he didn't expect Zhu Xian to come knocking on his door. Chapter 304. Zhu Xian never thought that Black Snake would be this shameless. Although Lin Yuan admitted that the sect was under Zhu Xian's control, he didn't mention a word about collecting the heart of purgatory. Was he planning to go back on his word? Zhu Xian's eyes suddenly became gloomy. I don't think that someone of your status would keep pressuring a little intelligence perception demonic beast, right? Or do you have some other ideas? Lin Yuan's eyes were obviously a bit of ridicule. Zhu Xian's face stiffened, and he said angrily, "Black Snake, don't play this game with me. Although the heart of purgatory isn't something that I must have, it's just to improve my cultivation progress. Compared to this, I don't like people lying to me. You know what will happen to you if I give up on obtaining the heart of purgatory, right?" Lin Yuan was silent. He didn't know what the heart of purgatory was, but if it could make an existence like Zhu Xian come out to set it up, it must be something extraordinary. So he really didn't think that Zhu Xian would give up on the heart of purgatory. But then again, although he wasn't afraid of Zhu Xian directly killing him, Zhu Xian just released a rumor, and the nearby demon beast clans, including the Green Marsh clan, didn't dare to provoke him. It seemed that Zhu Xian was definitely an overlord in the Hengduan mountain range. Even if he wasn't as strong as the 3 beast kings, he definitely wasn't far off. Lin Yuan could now smoothly manage the northern frontier because of Sabaru's support. A great beast king level existence personally came to suppress him? That scene was too beautiful. Lin Yuan really didn't dare to think about it. Scared? I thought you weren't afraid of anything. Zhu Xian sneered and said with a gloomy face, "Black Snake, you know my secret, but I also know some of your little secrets. Do you think I've been paying attention to you for a day or two? Where did those strange demon beasts around you come from? Can you explain it clearly? Also, the dragon blood in your body is inexplicably becoming purer and purer." As Zhu Xian spoke, she suddenly noticed that Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up, as if he had discovered something very interesting. At that time, Zhu Xian's heart suddenly quivered. She didn't continue speaking, but her eyes swept back and forth, as if she wanted to find something from the Black Snake. Especially at that moment, he even felt an aura of death above his head. It was as if some indescribably terrifying existence had passed through the endless void and looked at him. "You!" Behind you, Xn swallowed her saliva and said in a trembling voice. Previously, it was said that there was a demon arch behind the black serpent, but it still didn't believe it. After all, it had observed the black serpent for so long, and no one knew better than whether there were other forces behind the black serpent. But from the looks of it now, not only was there an ancient demonic emperor behind the black snake, but it was also a demonic emperor at his peak. Just by glancing at it from across the endless void, it felt the terror of death. What kind of terrifying existence was this? With such strength, not to mention re-establishing the ancient demonic court, even if it swept across the entire Timu continent, no one would dare to stand up and say no. But such a terrifying existence refused to show itself. Instead, it put the black serpent out in the open for the world to see, enjoying all the riches that the black serpent should not have enjoyed. Perhaps this was a big shot? But whether or not there was a demonic emperor behind the black serpent, he was no longer interested because he had already lost interest in the black serpent. Compared to the black serpent, there was a real substitute in the northern frontier. Although it was just a glimpse, Zhu Xan could still feel the noble dragon blood in Ao Qian's body. Although it was not as pure as the black serpent's, the blood in her body was more noble. Zhu Xan leaned forward, a cold look in his eyes, and said coldly, "Black serpent, there is no need for us to be enemies. As long as you are willing to cooperate with me, not only will I not continue to be your enemy, I can even form an alliance with you." Recently, the Beast Lord Kirin has found many suitable successors. With your talent, you should be one of them, right? The other successors all have the support of the desolate demonic realm, but you have nothing. Could it be? At this point, Zhu Xan paused and said tentatively, "Can you bring out the demonic emperor behind you? I have to admit that among all the successors, your background is the most powerful. But if the demonic emperor behind you wanted to show himself, he would not have put you in this position." Although he did not know what the death threat was, he could still feel the threat from the other party. He could not reveal the other party's existence. Even if he knew, he had to continue playing dumb. Otherwise, he would be directly wiped out by the other party's terrifying power. This was the message that the other party had just conveyed. Originally, Zhu Xian did not want to mention this again, but now that only he and the Black Serpent were here, he did not need to worry too much about mentioning the demonic emperor. He only needed to tell the Black Serpent these words and then bury them in his heart. Lin Yuan's mouth twitched slightly. Although he did not know why, he always felt that everyone who saw him felt that there was a demonic emperor from the ancient demonic court behind him. If he did not know that it was just something he made up to fool Sunan, he might have believed it himself. However, Zhu Xian's words had indeed struck Lin Yuan's heart. The other successors that the Beast Lord Qilin had set his eyes on, regardless of their own strength or methods, would more or less have a desolate demon realm expert backing them. Even if they didn't have one, the entire clan would still have a few mountain lords. After all, some of the successors might not have been chosen for their own sake. It was only because they had powerful backing that they became targets for the Beast Lord Qilin's consideration. Of course, the chances of someone like that becoming the new Beast King were not high. The successor of the demonic Beast Court did not have a rule that said that they had to choose a suitable Beast King. If the new Beast King was willing, he could pass the position of Beast King to a member of his clan at any time. Of course, if the new Beast King was not strong enough, he would still be pulled down by other demonic beast clans in the forest. The theory of the law of the jungle was just that realistic. If the demonic beasts wanted to become Beast King, they just had to act. However, the problem now was that Lin Yuan did not have a desolate demon realm existence behind him. His strength was only at the peak of the wisdom realm. If Beast King Kirin was about to change positions, Lin Yuan might even be assassinated by some old bastards. Chapter 305. Cooperating with Moxian was like asking a tiger for its skin. These purgatory beasts that disguised themselves as ordinary demonic beasts were not very smart. They might become extremely irritable if provoked slightly. However, Moxian, who could control a group of purgatory beasts and even suppress their ferocious nature, was definitely an exception. To be able to climb to a position comparable to a great beast king as a purgatory beast, Moxi strength, and means were not inferior to those old foxes Lin Yuan had seen before. In fact, she was even better at enduring. If Lin Yuan could reach a cooperative relationship with Moxi, it seemed that there was indeed a desolate demon realm existence behind him. Moreover, it was a desolate demon that was comparable to a great beast king. However, seriously speaking, the relationship between Lin Yuan and Moxi could not be described as harmonious at all. There were two reasons for maintaining peace between the two sides. First, Lin Yuan's current strength was not enough, so he could not fall out with this purgatory beast who lusted after his body. Second, it was because of the existence of the Beast King Kirin. Although Lin Yuan did not know what level the Beast King Kirin had reached in the desolate demon realm, the Beast King Kirin's strength was definitely enough to crush Moxi, who was also in the desolate demon realm. This was also the reason why Moxi did not dare to fall out with Lin Yuan. If the Beast King Kirin was replaced, Moxi would soon lose his fear of Lin Yuan. He might even kill Lin Yuan and take control of the Hengduan Mountains himself. Therefore, Moxi's proposal was complete nonsense in Lin Yuan's eyes. After all, although these guys all think that there is a demon emperor behind them, in fact, Lin Yuan himself still has the most right to say whether there is a demon emperor behind them or not. He is just a cheater with a system. He is really not a chess piece that the big boss arranged in the Hengduan Mountains. The Beast King Kirin was real. He could be seen and touched. Therefore, as long as the Beast King Kirin was alive, Moxi's fear of Kirin would remain. However, the shifter emperor behind Kirin was different. After all, it was only a legendary existence. It was fine to not see him for a day or two, but after a long time, some people would think that Lin Yuan was just making up a shifter emperor to scare them. What do you want? Lin Yuan slightly narrowed his eyes and took the initiative to ask. Moxi licked his lips and sneered. Didn't a dragon race that came to find you some time ago? I want you to cooperate with me and trick that dragon race to collect the heart of purgatory. Once I devour it, the biggest problem between us will no longer exist. It's good for both of us. What do you think? Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and almost blurted out the word F***ck off. Qian's status in the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas was definitely not low. It would be fine if she left Lin Yuan's territory safely. However, if something happened to Qian in his territory, the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas would be the first to settle the score with him. By then, no matter how many lives he had, he wouldn't be enough for these dragons to kill. Seeing that Lin Yuan didn't speak, Moxi's eyes hardened. However, he knew that this wasn't the time to push too hard. He could only narrow his eyes and say, "Black Snake, I'll give you enough time to consider. As long as this dragon race doesn't leave your territory, I can wait patiently for your reply. However, if this dragon race leaves, we will be in a situation where we won't rest until one of us dies." Lin Yuan just snorted at Moxi's threat. "If you're so awesome, why didn't I see you go to the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas and capture a dragon race to go with your wine?" Watching Moxi leave, the waves in Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes slowly jumped. "It's here." Someone was making a wish in the Black Water Dragon King Temple. After all, there was still a period where there were no believers. Therefore, Lin Yuan didn't have the qualifications to sit high in the sky like the gods in his previous life and completely ignore the suffering of the world. Therefore, in the face of a mortal's prayer, Lin Yuan still had to respond. Blackwater Dragon King Temple, Dragon King Hall. A beautiful woman in luxurious clothes knelt on a futon with her hands clasped together. Next to her was a priest who was muttering something. It was said that he was communicating with the gods. However, Lin Yuan didn't know who this priest was communicating with. In any case, he couldn't understand this kind of bird language. The golden snake statue twisted, and soon, a transparent snake head drilled out of the statue. A pair of vertical pupils fixed on the rich woman who had her hands clasped together. In a dignified voice, it said, "Mortal, speak your wish." Seeing that the black snake had responded so quickly, a touch of joy flashed across the beautiful woman's face. Then, she slowly began to speak her wish. The beautiful woman's surname was Zhen. Her husband was a rich merchant from the Shenwu dynasty. Some time ago, when he came to Shunning City to trade goods, he disappeared without a trace. She almost asked all her friends and looked for a lot of connections, but she didn't get any news. It was as if her husband had mysteriously disappeared from the world. In order to find out her husband's whereabouts, the beautiful woman even went to the Zazai courtyard. She donated a lot of money, but she didn't get any response from the gods. For this kind of situation, the Zen master of the Zazai courtyard didn't just push the blame away once or twice. He very skillfully told her that the gods didn't respond to her because she was not sincere. In desperation, the beautiful woman heard that the Shinwu dynasty had just conferred a god in the northern frontier. Although it was a god who ruled the water realm, it was still a god, wasn't it? Anyway, in the eyes of a mortal like her, a god should be omniscient and omnipotent. So, she didn't care about her desperate behavior at all. She simply went to the Black Water Dragon King temple that had just been built. Even she didn't believe it. But the black snake really quickly gave her a response. Looking for someone, a touch of helplessness flashed across Lin Yuan's vertical pupils. Ding, congratulations to the host. Special mission activated. The First Believer's Prayer. Name, the First Believer's Prayer description. As the new Dragon King of the Northern Frontier, nothing in this land can escape your eyes. Please help the woman surnamed Jun find her husband. Reward. Obtain a fanatic believer. Unlock a subfunction of the incense model, conversion, punishment. None subfunction. Conversion affiliation. Incense model function. The host can convert the power of incense into various kinds of energy. At the same time the system prompt sounded, Lin Yuan took a deep breath and looked at the beautiful woman meaningfully. Fortunately, the other party's wish was only to find her husband. If it was really a guy who came to ask for a child with a lot of money, Lin Yuan reckoned that he would directly give up this mission. Although the reward was quite generous, if he couldn't do something, he should give up before the punishment. Was he going to brace himself and trick the other party? Chapter 306. With my blood, I grant your wish. Lin Yuan's voice slowly sounded, his pair of vertical pupils fixed on the beautiful woman's face. His main body far away in Shunning City also simultaneously activated the blood sacrifice wishing technique. The beautiful woman was just an ordinary person, so her wish shouldn't be difficult to fulfill. After all, it was very difficult for a cultivator to marry an ordinary person and still be so loving. Therefore, Lin Yuan speculated that the beautiful woman's husband should also be an ordinary person, so finding this person didn't require much blood at all. But just to be safe, Lin Yuan still extracted 1/7 of his blood at once as a sacrifice for the blood sacrifice wishing technique. However, after the 1/7 of his blood was extracted, Lin Yuan's expression instantly stiffened because he didn't receive any prompt from the blood sacrifice wishing technique. The causality technique always had a certain failure rate, but the blood sacrifice wishing technique was a special technique that could increase the success rate through sacrifices. For example, if Lin Yuan wanted to summon a thunderstorm now, he only needed a few drops of blood to do it. After all, he had already become a peak wisdom realm demon beast. As his strength gradually increased, doing something similar was just a thought away, and he didn't even need to pay a sacrifice. But now the technique failed because the system determined that 1/7 of Lin Yuan's blood was simply not enough to find the beautiful woman's husband. This was a very thought-provoking matter. Was the beautiful woman's husband extraordinary, or was the existence that captured the beautiful woman's husband extraordinary? Or was it both? I really don't believe it. Lin Yuan's pupils suddenly contracted, and he clenched his teeth and began to make a ruthless decision. After all, this was the first time the Blackwater Dragon King showed his skills after becoming the main god of the Northern Frontier. If he failed or was humiliated, Lin Yuan wouldn't be able to face himself. Moreover, the mission reward was quite generous, so Lin Yuan didn't want to give up. 1/3 of the blood in Lin Yuan's body mysteriously evaporated. Lin Yuan, who was coiled up in the room, suddenly felt his aura wither. He gasped for air as if he would die at any moment. Except for some special creatures, most creatures would die once they lost too much blood. They didn't have to wait for all the blood in their bodies to be drained. Therefore, the previous 1/7 and the current 1/3 of his blood was a dangerous number for Lin Yuan. After all, he was just a cheater with a system. His body wasn't digitized like a game character to the point that he could run and jump with only 1% of his HP left. At this moment, in the Black Water Dragon King Temple, Lin Yuan's divine sense shook violently and almost dissipated. The beautiful woman and the priestess beside her were shocked. Who would have thought that the newly appointed god of the northern region would almost vanish in a thin air just by trying to figure out the whereabouts of a human? That Lord Dragon King, the beautiful woman, opened her mouth, but didn't know what to say. Although she didn't believe that the Black Water Dragon King could find her husband, he was still helping her. Therefore, she didn't say a word even if she wanted to. After all, the Dragon King in front of her was much better than other people. Your husband is in Shunning City, in the Qiao family in the east of the city. Before the beautiful woman could finish speaking, Lin Yuan had already opened his mouth slowly. Previously, he was still wondering why he couldn't deduce the whereabouts of an ordinary person with 1/7 of his blood. However, now that the Qiao family in Shunning City was involved, Lin Yuan began to feel relieved. The Qiao family in the northern frontier was one of the oldest families in the Xinwu dynasty. They had been passed down since the Wanjian dynasty. Although they didn't have a Kongming realm existence, they had a total of 9 heaven realm existences. If it wasn't for the Qiao family's lack of interest in conflicts between major forces, Lin Yuan might not have been able to conquer Shunning City with the Qiao family's presence. The Qiao family's strength on the surface was enough to sweep across the northern frontier in the past. Lin Yuan's gaze lingered on the beautiful woman's face for a moment. He asked in confusion, "Why? Aren't you surprised to hear that your husband is in the Qiao family?" Could it be that this woman didn't know what kind of existence the Qiao family was? Thinking about it carefully, it was quite possible. Although the Qiao family was powerful, they kept a very low profile. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Yuan had a monopoly on the spiritual item business and the Qiao family took the initiative to cooperate with him, Lin Yuan, the actual ruler of the northern frontier, wouldn't have known that such a powerful family was hidden under his command. Plop! As soon as Lin Yuan finished speaking, the beautiful woman directly knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Lin Yuan. She repeatedly said, "May I be so bold as to ask Lord Dragon King to save my husband?" Lin Yuan. Frankly speaking, when he reported the location of the beautiful woman's husband, the quest submission column was still grayed out. He had a vague premonition that something bad was about to happen, and now, it really came true. Lin Yuan was silent for a moment. He slightly narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, "Since you're begging me to save your husband, then you should know why the Qiao family took your husband, right? Tell me clearly. Otherwise, I won't do anything. If I find out that you dared to lie to me, you and your husband won't be able to leave the northern frontier alive." Lin Yuan was now considered a business partner of the Qiao family. If the beautiful woman's husband didn't have a death feud with the Qiao family, the Qiao family would more or less give him some face if he went to ask for his husband. However, if the beautiful woman's husband had an irreconcilable feud with the Qiao family, his reputation as the ruler of the northern frontier might not be useful. If they really fought, although he wasn't afraid of the Qiao family, the one who would suffer in the end would still be the entire northern frontier. Hearing Lin Yuan's words, the beautiful woman also clearly heaved a sigh of relief. Although this newly appointed god of the northern frontier wasn't strong, this Black Water Dragon King still had a breath of righteousness in his heart. If she begged the other forces of the northern frontier for the same thing, she would most likely be rejected. Some of the lackeys who flattered the Qiao family would even take the initiative to report this matter to the Qiao family. Even forces with Void Realm experts wouldn't easily provoke the Qiao family. This was the face of the Qiao family in the northern frontier. However, this Black Water Dragon King expressed that he was willing to stand up for her. Lin Yuan didn't know what the beautiful woman was thinking at this moment. He was very clear that whether or not he could transform into a dragon depended on this incense template. Therefore, after the first mission was issued, Lin Yuan didn't want to fail no matter what. As for the Qiao family, in the eyes of other forces, They might be in existence, not to be trifled with, but in Lin Yuan's eyes, they were just one of the many lice. Anyway, lice to niche when there were too many of them. Chapter 307. My husband was once a member of the Qiao clan. His cultivation aptitude could be said to be monstrous. The previous head of the Qiao clan said that he had the potential to break through to the Heaven Dipper realm before the age of 30. However, because he wasn't a direct descendant of the Qiao clan, he was secretly poisoned by the son of the current head of the Qiao clan, which destroyed my husband's cultivation path. After that, my husband went to a foreign land and built a business that is comparable to the richest in the region with the identity of an ordinary person. I didn't expect that the Qiao clan still wouldn't let my husband go. They took the opportunity when my husband came to the northern frontier to purchase spiritual items to kidnap my husband. Although I don't know why the Qiao clan did this. I feel that it might be related to a secret that my husband knew. If Lord Dragon King can help me rescue my husband and guarantee that we can safely leave the northern frontier, I am willing to hand over this secret. The beautiful woman bowed, slightly with a hint of sorrow in her eyes. Lin Yuan's gaze swept back and forth across the beautiful woman's face. His eyes also revealed a hint of contemplation. After all, he wasn't a divine beast like the Xieji that was born to see through people's hearts and see through lies. Therefore, he could only guess what the beautiful woman said. For an aristocratic clan like the Qiao clan that had been passed down since ancient times, their foundation was already here. If they continued to forge ahead, it would very likely cause some people or forces to be dissatisfied and bring about an unexpected disaster. Therefore, to them, stability had to be placed in front of all options. A prodigy from a side branch might be a good thing for a small or medium-sized clan, but for a top-notch clan like the Qiao clan, it was very likely to cause unrest in the clan. Therefore, it wasn't impossible for the Qiao clan to kill this prodigy in advance. After killing this prodigy's cultivation path, he could still leave the northern frontier safely and go to other places to develop. It should be the Qiao clan's compensation after the incident. Then, what kind of secret did he know that the Qiao clan would suddenly make things difficult for him and directly detain him in the northern frontier? Did this secret exist or not? Or rather, what exactly was this secret? Seeing that Lin Yuan didn't speak, the beautiful woman deliberated for a moment before slowly saying, "Lord Dragon King, I am not an unreasonable person. As long as you are willing to go to the Qiao clan and ask for him, I will tell this secret to Lord Dragon King, whether you succeed or not." All right, then this king will give it a try. Lin Yuan nodded and then sent his divine thought into the statue again. This strand of his divine thought had not been baptized by the power of incense, so it was unbelievably weak. Previously, when his main body used the blood sacrifice wishing technique, his vitality was greatly damaged, and even this strand of divine thought almost collapsed. He might have to recuperate in the statue for a long time before he could come out. Hopefully, the beautiful woman's secret was valuable enough. Otherwise, even if he obtained the quest reward, Lin Yuan's heart would still be filled with resentment. After entering the statue, no one disturbed Lin Yuan, and his mind gradually became active. If the secret of the beautiful woman's husband was related to the northern frontier, then Lin Yuan was confident that he could take him down. As for the beautiful woman's thoughts, they didn't escape Lin Yuan's eyes. She would tell him this secret regardless of whether he got the person or not. The Qiao clan had stood tall in the northern frontier for so many years. They had experienced 3 generations of rulers: Myriad Sword, Divine Marshal, and Lin Yuan. It was impossible for them not to have any means to inquire. Therefore, whether Lin Yuan could get the person or not, the Qiao clan would know this secret. If it involved a wide range of people, the Qiao clan wouldn't give up even if they had a falling out. After all, seeking stability and keeping a low profile wasn't the same as building a car behind closed doors. If the beautiful woman told this secret to Lin Yuan, then Lin Yuan and the Qiao clan would definitely clash. Even if he, as the new ruler of the northern frontier, wasn't a match for the Qiao clan, he would still be able to bring some damage to the Qiao clan. It could be considered as helping the Qiao clan vent their resentment. As for what would happen to Lin Yuan after this, naturally, she didn't consider it. Even if Lin Yuan defeated the Qiao clan, his future actions in the northern frontier would be difficult. After all, the Qiao clan was the representative of the northern frontier's aristocratic families. If Lin Yuan made a move against the Qiao clan, the remaining small and medium-sized aristocratic families would naturally feel insecure. When the time came, it wasn't impossible for the aristocratic families in the northern frontier to unite and resist Lin Yuan. Even if in Lin Yuan's plan, the aristocratic families were originally a force to be defeated, but now that the development of the northern frontier had just begun, they were completely unprepared. They would definitely suffer some losses. The stinger of a wasp's tail, the mouth of a green bamboo snake. Both were not poisonous, but a woman's heart was the most poisonous. The lessons that countless people in his previous life summed up with blood and tears sometimes would come true. 15 minutes later, Lin Yuan, who had recovered some of his strength, finally didn't look weak from his face. He wriggled his snake body and walked towards the Qiao clan's residence. The Qiao clan's residence was located in the east of Shunning City. The scale of the residence wasn't large, covering an area of 60,000 miles. If it was in Lin Yuan's previous life, it could be considered a first-class mansion. But in this world where the residences of officials and princes could easily cover an area of 1 to 200,000 miles, the Qiao clan's residence was not only not large, it could even be said to be a little shabby. It was completely unworthy of the terrifying background of the Qiao clan. Under Lin Yuan's rule of the northern frontier, the style was completely different from before. Regardless of whether it was humans or demonic beasts, they could freely enter and leave the various human settlements and trade. As for the demonic beasts hunting and gathering of demonic beasts, they all stopped at the demonic beast forest in the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range. Without Lin Yuan's permission, there was simply no human who dared to take half a step into the Hengduan mountain range. Otherwise, even if they were eaten alive by the demonic beasts, no one would stand up for them. Similarly, although the demonic beasts could freely enter and leave the human settlements, no one could do whatever they wanted. Once the demonic beasts intentionally harmed humans in the human settlements, there was simply no need for the northern frontier's human forces to make a move. Lin Yuan would personally capture the demonic beasts, and after a thorough investigation, he would give both parties a satisfactory explanation. As an existence that had been nurtured on Earth, Lin Yuan was very clear that regardless of whether it was humans or demonic beasts on the Tianwu continent, their ideals were actually wrong. Between two intelligent races, whether it was the strength of the difference in status, but both sides should maintain a relationship of coexistence and prosperity and should not be dominated by one side. Once the oppression was prolonged, even a lamb would bare its teeth. As for Lin Yuan's concept of coexistence and prosperity, although many people did not understand, when used in the northern frontier, the effect was exceptionally outstanding and could even be said to be perfect. In other places, humans and demonic beasts would not be able to live in harmony. But in the northern frontier, all of them had to obediently abide by the rules. After all, in each settlement, the law enforcers were formed by both humans and demonic beasts. Furthermore, it was a rotation system. It was simply impossible to cover up the sky, cover up, and be biased. Chapter 308. The Qiao family was the Qiao family, after all. They were a family that had been around for nearly 1,000 years. Their power and resources were far beyond what ordinary people could imagine. As soon as Lin Yuan stepped into the east side of the city, he suddenly felt darkness in front of him. A black wave of people appeared before him. Even the weakest among them was at level 7 of the mortal evolution state. There were a few empty spaces in the depths of the crowd. Although Lin Yuan didn't look closely, he could sense that there were airborne realm beings coming from those empty spaces. And this was just a corner of the east side of the city. Show of strength? A cold light flashed in Lin Yuan's multicolored eyes. After all, his current appearance was unique in the entire northern frontier. He had black dragon scales with gold inlaid on top of one blue eye and the other ice-colored eye. There was no other beast that looked like this. Therefore, as soon as Lin Yuan appeared in Shunning City, the Qiao family probably got the news and quickly organized people, planning to show Lin Yuan who was stronger. It made sense. Someone at Lin Yuan's level wouldn't be so free as to wander around. He must have a purpose for appearing in Shunning City. In addition, he was heading straight for the Qiao family's territory in the east side of the city. The people in charge of the Qiao family were no fools. Of course, they would react, but Lin Yuan slowly closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, a golden light suddenly flashed in his heterochromatic vertical pupils. An invisible pressure spread from Lin Yuan. The countless human cultivators standing in front of him didn't even have time to be fierce to Lin Yuan before Lin Yuan glared at them. Boom! It was as if a bomb exploded in their minds. These human cultivators instantly felt their minds go blank. Then, when they finally woke up and looked at Lin Yuan, some fear was born in their hearts for some reason. It was as if the one standing there wasn't a black snake that ruled the northern frontier, but a real dragon descendant hiding in the deep sea. Make way! When Lin Yuan saw that the crowd was in a mess, he struck while the iron was hot. The song of the tyrant of the world was launched in an instant. Suddenly, it was like a heavy hammer that smashed heavily into the crowd. Even some humans with slightly weaker willpower were so scared that they lost control of their bowels just by looking at Lin Yuan twice. Some of them even ran away recklessly. This was a talent skill that the system rewarded Lin Yuan when the bloodline transformation progress bar reached 90%. Dragon's Aura. As a dragon, you are born with an incomparable majesty. When you activate Dragon's Aura, your target has a 5% chance of falling into a state of extreme panic, 15% chance of falling into a state of panic, and 60% chance of falling into a state of panic. Note 1. Only one skill effect can be triggered. For example, an existence that enters a state of panic cannot enter a state of extreme panic. Note 2. This skill is ineffective against targets whose realm is higher than yours. It will not cause the target to fall into panic, but it will have a certain degree of deterrence. Note 3. This skill has no cooldown time, but it can only be used once in 3 days on the same target. Among the human cultivators present, there was no one with a higher cultivation base than Lin Yuan. Therefore, the Dragon Might skill was launched very smoothly by Lin Yuan. Even if there were a few humans who guessed the probability and did not fall into a state of panic, the chaos around them at the moment naturally affected their rhythm. Even a large number of them did not know why they were running away, but their bodies had already fled with the crowd first. The combination of the Tyrant of the World's song and Dragon Might was terrifying. Lin Yuan even felt that if he used these two skills at the same time, he could directly turn a group of well-trained human troops into a defeated army. Of course, this was just Lin Yuan's imagination. After all, a well-trained army almost always had a willpower as strong as steel. Although they would still be affected by Lin Yuan's Dragon Might, it was unlikely that they would run away directly. However, when this skill was used on these ordinary cultivators who could only be regarded as wandering soldiers at best, it was no different from throwing a huge rock into the deep sea, instantly stirring up stormy waves. Lin Yuan continued forward. Wherever he passed, the human cultivators all made way, even forgetting their initial purpose of blocking this place. Even the few airborne realm beings hiding in the crowd retreated one after another. They were even more afraid of Lin Yuan than those mortal evolution realm cultivators. After all, with their level, it was easier for them to feel the absolute difference in power between the two sides. In front of Lin Yuan, they were not much different from those mortal evolution realm beings. In any case, Lin Yuan could easily crush them with a casual blow. There was no resistance at all. After passing through the outermost sea of people, Lin Yuan continued to move in the direction of the Qiao family's residence. Soon, 3 tall figures blocked in front of Lin Yuan again. The leader was a middle-aged man with a mustache. He had very high cheekbones, clear eyes, and an elegant and easygoing temperament. However, those who knew this middle-aged man's existence only had a deep fear of him. After all, this man almost wiped out the other aristocratic families in Shunning City, causing the Qiao family to be the dominant family today. The few aristocratic families who could join forces to fight with the Qiao family either fled far away or were beaten to the bottom, becoming one of the small, insignificant families in the eyes of others. Qiao Yilin, the current head of the Qiao family. I didn't know that Lord Dragon King had arrived. Please forgive me for not coming out to greet you. Qiao Yilin saluted Lin Yuan from afar, but his calm voice sounded as if it was right next to Lin Yuan's ear. He was ranked third among the direct descendants of the Qiao family and was also one of the Heaven Dipper realm beings in the Qiao family. He could be considered a powerful figure of the middle generation. Lin Yuan acted as if he didn't see this sea of people just now. He nodded naturally and said, "It's fine." As his voice fell, Qiao Yilin's face stiffened. He didn't know how to continue the conversation. The Qiao family's actions couldn't be considered a lack of welcome. It could even be said that the Qiao family wanted to show Lin Yuan their power with great fanfare. According to Black Snake's rumored warmonger personality, he would either choose to admit defeat and obediently give the Qiao family face or fly into a rage and directly attack the Qiao family. Both were within Qiao Yilin's expectations. However, Black Snake's actions directly stunned Qiao Yilin. It's fine, my foot." Qiao Yilin, who choked on his words, had a look of discomfort on his face. Although he didn't know how to continue Lin Yuan's words, he still played along and said with a fake smile, "Lord Dragon King, an honored guest has arrived. I still don't know what's so important that Lord Dragon King would personally come to my humble abode." Chapter 309. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes. Seeing that the other party had changed the topic so quickly, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He slowly said, "It's not a big deal, but I have a friend who was detained by your Qiao clan. He hasn't been home for nearly half a month. His wife came to me, crying and begging me to ask about the Qiao clan." The moment he finished speaking, the smile on Qiao Yilin's face froze. Although he had already guessed that Black Snake's visit wouldn't be anything good, he really didn't expect that Black Snake would come for that guy. Did that mean that Black Snake was also here for that secret realm? After all, as the #1 clan in the northern frontier, the Qiao clan naturally cared about their reputation. They couldn't casually detain someone for such a small matter. In the past, when no one was in charge, the Qiao clan didn't dare to be so arrogant. Now that Lin Yuan had taken charge of the northern frontier, the first thing he did was set new rules, and rules that were beneficial to everyone. Even if the Qiao clan had the guts, they wouldn't dare to risk angering the public. In addition, it had been half a month. Even if Qiao Yilin hadn't thought of that abandoned son of the Qiao clan, he should have understood by now. Of course, an existence of Lin Yuan's level wouldn't just wander around. Although one wouldn't visit a temple for no reason, he definitely wouldn't make a trip to Shunning City just to say hello to the Qiao clan. It was just that Qiao Yilin hadn't thought of this at all. Although that abandoned son of the Qiao clan had done quite a lot of business with the Qiao clan support in front of a true expert, it was still not worth mentioning. No matter how much wealth he had, without strength, he couldn't protect his mountain of gold and silver. Therefore, they didn't think that the abandoned son of the Qiao clan would actually make contact with a troublesome existence like Lin Yuan. At first, the Qiao clan wanted to take Lin Yuan down a notch because they had more or less heard some rumors. Lin Yuan intended to open academies all over the northern frontier. Not only would he teach children how to read and write, but he would also open up cultivation methods to these students to a certain extent. Once they joined the academy and became an instructor, there was a chance that they would be able to obtain a higher-level cultivation method from Black Snake. After all, on the surface, the Black Snake was just a smokescreen for the primordial demon emperor. With a powerful being behind him, any cultivation technique that came out of the Black Snake's hands would be labeled as powerful and mysterious. Qiao Yilin didn't even need to wait for that day to come. He only needed to think about it to know that once the Northern Region Lord's Mansion issued this decree, it would be a terrifying attraction to those idle cultivators and how much support it would receive from the common people. From a long-term perspective, once Lin Yuan issued this decree, the quality of talents in the entire northern frontier would rapidly increase by a large margin. It would only stop after reaching an extremely high level. It was even possible for the northern frontier to surpass the Seven Empires. Although this was a good thing for the northern frontier, it was a terrible thing for the noble families, clans, and sects. What right did they have to stand aloof from the world and enjoy the adoration and worship of countless ordinary people? This was because they possessed knowledge, power, cultivation methods, and power. Once Lin Yuan opened an academy in the northern frontier, then everyone in the northern frontier would stand on the same starting line as the disciples of the noble families and sects. At that time, if one didn't have exceptional talent, one might not be able to continue standing at the peak of the northern frontier. Moreover, the population of the northern frontier was there. Even if there were only 10 geniuses in a generation, then at least 6 of them were hidden among the common people. Once these hidden geniuses began to display their talents, they would definitely be greatly nurtured by the noble families of the northern frontier. After all, with the Hengduan mountain range behind them, even if the noble families of the northern frontier were still very weak, they could invest countless times more resources in nurturing talents. So what if they weren't cultivation geniuses? Who would be willing to lower themselves to become someone's servant after studying and learning the principles and knowledge of how to be a person? Without these servants, who would cultivate the large amount of land controlled by the noble families and sects of the northern frontier? Could it be that these high and mighty cultivators had to personally work in the fields? When the time came, these abandoned lands could only be purchased by the noble families of the northern frontier at a low price and returned to public land, distributed to the common people in the northern frontier who relied on farming for a living. Although they were all farmers, farming for the noble families and sects and farming for the noble families of the northern frontier were two different things. After all, one needed to pay taxes twice, while the other only needed to pay taxes once. Even an idiot would know which one to choose. This government decree that might be issued, but it might also be a groundless rumor. Without a doubt, it was a desperate plan, a plan that could directly cut off the foundations of many powers in the northern frontier. If this continued, the only voice left in the northern frontier would be the noble families of the northern frontier. Meanwhile, the noble families of the northern frontier that relied on the resources provided by Lin Yuan to support large amounts of talents would soon be completely overthrown, becoming a chess piece that could be casually played with in the hands of Lin Yuan. When he first received this news, Qiao Yilin instantly broke out in cold sweat from fright. However, it wasn't that there weren't any capable people within the noble families of the northern frontier. They knew that after this government decree was issued, the northern frontier would completely become Lin Yuan's sole authority. Therefore, their internal opinions had always been divided, and this was the key reason why the government decree was stuck. In addition, Lin Yuan had been constantly pressuring them recently, so the Qiao family and the other noble families were also very uneasy. They had always wanted to find an opportunity to flex their muscles for Lin Yuan to show that the noble families and sects of the northern frontier weren't so weak that they could be bullied. It was just that they hadn't found the right opportunity. After all, if they rashly showed their muscles, it would be easier for Lin Yuan to clean them up. What? Is it inconvenient? A fake smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face, and a trace of ridicule flashed in his eyes. Although he couldn't tell if the beautiful woman's words were true or false, Qiao Yilin's reaction had already told him that the beautiful woman's words were indeed true. At the very least, that secret really existed. Moreover, even the Qiao family attached great importance to it. The value of this secret was probably even higher than Lin Yuan had imagined. Lin Yuan had never thought that the government decree that he had yet to issue had already been leaked. Therefore, he didn't even think that the sea of people he saw today was actually the result of the Qiao family's preparations. He still thought that the Qiao family's strength had already reached such a terrifying degree. This didn't make Lin Yuan afraid. Instead, it made him even more determined to eradicate the noble families and sects. Qiao Yilin shook his head with a bitter smile and said, "My Qiao family has always been upright. What inconvenience is there? It's just that Lord Dragon King might not know, but this person is an abandoned son of my Qiao family. In the past, he betrayed the Qiao family and colluded with outsiders to deal with our Qiao family. After that, he went to a foreign land and came to the northern frontier to purchase spirit items. He was caught red-handed by us. Speaking of which, we still have to thank Lord Dragon King. If not for you, this person might not have returned to the northern frontier. Chapter 310. I know that. Lin Yuan choked on Xiao Yilin's words again, and the ridicule in his eyes intensified. Then, Xiao Yilin opened his mouth, and a trace of indignation flashed across his eyes. He could see that this black snake didn't even put his Xiao clan in his eyes. He clearly knew that the other party was an abandoned disciple that the Xiao clan had expelled back then, and he still dared to boldly come over and ask for the person. What did this black snake think of his Xiao clan as? An ant on the side of the road that he could casually step on? I've already said that this person is a friend of mine. I only came to the Xiao family to ask if you can give this Lin some face and let bygones be bygones. First, release this person to reunite with his family. This way, this Lin will be able to answer to my friend's wife and children. However, Xiao clan head can rest assured. This Lin will not let the Xiao clan lose face for nothing. I can make the decision. The next time the Xiao clan orders phase, I can give the Xiao clan a 20% discount. No matter how much you order, I will definitely not let you suffer a loss in terms of price. Lin Yuan looked at Xiao Yilin with a sincere gaze, and his tone had a hint of negotiation. If it was an ordinary matter, Xiao Yilin really had to give this face. After all, Lin Yuan controlled all the phase supply in the northern frontier. Once they fell out with Lin Yuan and couldn't directly defeat Lin Yuan and the northern frontier prince's residence, the Xiao clan would no longer have a foothold in the northern frontier. They might not even be able to maintain their current business. Order phase? Sorry, out of stock. The northern frontier's phase distribution was in Lin Yuan's hands, and he would give as much as he wanted. As long as Lin Yuan said a few harsh words to the Xiao clan, the Xiao clan wouldn't be able to get any phase in the future. This matter wouldn't arouse the sympathy of the other clans and sections. Instead, they would be eager for the Xiao clan to be kicked out. After all, this was a business with huge profits. If others were to earn a bit more, it would mean that their own profits would be reduced. As for other aspects, the northern frontier prince's residence could clearly make arrangements for the Xiao clan. They could attack the Xiao clan from all angles using the law and underground rules. Even if the Xiao clan had a huge business, how long could they last against Lin Yuan's attacks within the rules? As long as Lin Yuan didn't directly use force to suppress the Xiao clan, it would be very difficult to arouse the rebellious thoughts of the other sects and clans. Sometimes, once benefits were involved, even the most astute person would be blinded. If Lin Yuan wanted to suppress the Xiao clan, he didn't need to bring a large number of armed forces. Low-level Fey beasts were too difficult to control. If he launched a beast tide to attack the Xiao clan, the people of Shunning City would inevitably suffer heavy casualties. This was undoubtedly something that Lin Yuan didn't want to see. However, excluding the power of the Hengduan mountain range, just the power of the northern frontier prince's residence and the other 6 city lords might not be enough to suppress the terrifying Xiao clan. However, this didn't mean that Lin Yuan couldn't do anything to the Xiao clan. After all, although the northern frontier was under his control, there was still the existence of the Shenwu dynasty. Therefore, Lin Yuan could play with the Xiao clan within the rules. As long as the Xiao clan dared to rebel, not only would they not have a place to stay in the northern frontier, but even the Shenwu dynasty wouldn't let go of this deep-rooted family in the northern frontier that vaguely threatened the Shenwu dynasty's control over the northern frontier. There was no other way, but once there was an opportunity, with Lei Qiuxing's domineering personality, he would definitely not let go of any opportunity to eliminate dissidents. Therefore, Lin Yuan came alone, not to show off but purely because there was no need to. Lin Yuan's words directly kicked the ball to Xiao Yilin, and Xiao Yilin's face was also full of helplessness. Now, the other party didn't want to talk about the abandoned son of the Xiao clan or anything like that. He even vaguely avoided the other party's secrets and directly asked if they would give him face or not. The corner of Xiao Yilin's mouth twitched slightly, and he said in a deep voice, "Lord Dragon King, it's not that my Xiao clan doesn't want to give you face, but this bastard's past actions are really infuriating. This time, we finally caught him, so a few of our family's juniors were a little agitated and accidentally hit him a little hard. Now he's probably dead." Hearing how shameless Qiao Yilin was, Lin Yuan's mouth twitched violently. He couldn't help but think of the beautiful woman who asked him to take action. That woman probably already knew what kind of ender man would end up in before she set off, right? However, since Qiao Yilin had already said that, Lin Yuan really couldn't continue to make things difficult for him. After all, the other party really was an abandoned son of the Qiao clan. Even if Lin Yuan investigated this point, he wouldn't be able to find any problems. Although the internal strife of the Qiao clan wasn't so cruel that they had to fight to the death, in order to prevent outsiders from gossiping, their hands and feet would definitely be very clean. Therefore, the name that this abandoned son of the Qiao clan had been pinned on him back then could really be that he had colluded with foreign enemies. If Lin Yuan continued to make things difficult for the Qiao clan now, it wouldn't be as if he was pressuring the Qiao clan, but as if he was determined to find trouble with the Qiao clan with a cold face. Lin Yuan definitely wouldn't do something that required effort and didn't benefit him, no matter what the other party was like before he came here. But now, they would definitely deal a fatal blow to the abandoned son of the Qiao clan. Even if they guessed that the beautiful woman who asked Lin Yuan to come here also knew about this secret, the final outcome wouldn't be much different. However, they still wouldn't hand the person over to Lin Yuan. After all, this was still considered a game. How could the Qiao clan be willing to lower their heads? Lord Dragon King, Patriarch Qiao, what are you guys chatting about? Just as both parties were in a deadlock, Lei Fan suddenly led Li Zhongxing and Luo Su out from behind Lin Yuan. There was a hint of meaning in his eyes as he sized up Qiao Yilin and the two Heavenly Dipper realm experts from the Qiao clan. Although there was a hint of laughter in his voice, there wasn't a hint of a smile on Lei Fan's face. On the contrary, Lei Fan's cold eyes were filled with malice. "Why are you here?" Without waiting for Qiao Yilin to open his mouth to exchange pleasantries, Lin Yuan asked in surprise. Lei Fan snorted coldly and said in a strange tone, "I'm here to seek an explanation from Patriarch Qiao. I didn't expect the Northern Frontier's Qiao clan to be so powerful, to openly plant their men in the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion and even flip through the documents on my desk." As his voice fell, Luo Su suddenly threw the bundle he was carrying on his shoulders onto the ground. A few muffled groans could be heard from within the bundle, and then it started to wriggle. Luo Su didn't stay idle either. He took 2 steps forward and stepped on the bundle. With a flip of his hand, he pulled out a dagger from his waist and sliced open the bundle, revealing the badly mutilated human-shaped creature inside. Even for Lin Yuan, after searching his mind for a long time, he could barely find the word human-shaped creature to describe it. Although he could still distinguish the head, body, limbs, and the like, every single one of them was badly mutilated. Chapter 311. But other than the general outline of the body, still resembling a human, Lin Yuan was completely unable to link this lump of mangled flesh with a living person. In other words, he could not even begin to imagine how tenacious this person's life force was, or how skillful Luo Su's methods were, to be able to turn the body into such a state and still have a single breath of life left in him. Looking at this lump of mangled flesh, Qiao Yilin's eyelids twitched slightly. As the saying goes, a new broom sweeps clean 3 fires. No one knew if Lei Fan, the newly appointed king of the Northern Frontier, would do such a thing. But Qiao Yilin was certain that the other party now had the Black Snake backing him up. His subordinates were able to mobilize the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, which controlled all the demonic beast raw materials in the Northern Frontier, as well as the Association of the Demon Emperor, which controlled the underworld. The 600,000-strong Northern Frontier Guard Legion was also firmly under his control. Even the officials in the Northern Frontier Duke's Palace were all selected from the commoners. Under such absolute control, the Duke's Palace in the Northern Frontier had the ability to go toe-to-toe with any other power. Hence, if the other party wanted to make a move, he would definitely make the biggest move. For example, the Qiao family. Hence, the Qiao family had thought of all sorts of ways and means to send a few spies into the Northern Frontier Duke's Palace. Just like the previous government order to sever the foundations of the various aristocratic families and sects in the northern frontier, it had been leaked out by these spies. Although it was only a matter of time before the spies would be exposed before the eyes of the northern frontier Duke's palace, Qiao Yilin had never thought that this day would come so quickly. What was even more unexpected was that Lei Fan had merely caught hold of a small flaw in the Qiao family, and he had actually dared to bring the remains of the spies to their doorstep to demand an explanation from the Qiao family. Hearing Lei Fan's words, Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly turned cold. The lines in his mind connected at this moment, and he suddenly figured it out. The reason why the Qiao clan had prepared a sea of men to welcome him was definitely not because they could predict the future and knew that he was coming for the abandoned son of the Qiao clan. The Qiao clan's actions were because they saw that his decree could cut off the foundations of the aristocratic families and sects, so they wanted to use this opportunity to flex their muscles in front of the Wang estate and Lin Yuan at the northern frontier. They wanted to show that the Qiao clan was not an existence that could be bullied. However, Qiao Yilin did not expect that their sea of men tactic would not only fail to intimidate Lin Yuan, but also embarrass him. Tisk, no wonder Patriarch Qiao made such a big fuss. It turns out that you misunderstood this king's intentions. Lin Yuan's cold gaze fell on Qiao Yilin's face, and Qiao Yilin suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Then, Lin Yuan did not give Qiao Yilin a chance to explain. He silently took 2 steps forward, and the aura on his body was not restrained in the slightest. Like a tidal wave, it smashed toward Qiao Yilin. Heaven Dipper Realm Expert? Sorry, but Lin Yuan was not weak at all. In the blood boil state, Lin Yuan was definitely not a match for demonic beasts in terms of attribute points. However, when facing humans whose physique was far inferior to demonic beasts, Lin Yuan still had the ability to fight. Even if Heaven Dipper Realm experts did not lose to demonic beasts in all aspects, humans' balanced and perfect body structure determined that humans' ability to fight overload was far inferior to demonic beasts. If the two sides engaged in a high-intensity battle, Lin Yuan might be able to endure the duration of the blood boil state, but Qiao Yilin might be crushed to death by his own overload pressure. After all, not losing was not losing, but there was definitely a difference. For example, the Fire Kirin's fight against Yin Xingqi and Master Qin was the best example. In terms of individual combat ability, regardless of the realm, demonic beasts were still stronger. However, humans were better at teamwork. Moreover, in a battle of life and death, no one could count on the other to follow the rules, right? Qiao Yilin's face stiffened, and he said in a deep voice, Lord Dragon King, what is the meaning of this? There is no other meaning. I just feel that the Qiao clan should change its leader. Lin Yuan had the confidence to win against Qiao Yilin, so his words were naturally firm. If he went against the Qiao clan for that secret, Lin Yuan might be able to win, but it would definitely be very damaging. It might even give the Qiao clan a chance to ally with other clans and sects to go against the northern frontier prince's residence. However, now that he was going against the Qiao clan, Lin Yuan had the right to do so. After all, no ruler would allow the clans and sects to place chess pieces around them, let alone something like peeking at secrets. Therefore, if this matter was blown up, the Qiao clan would definitely not have an easy time. Even the other clans and sects would stay away from the Qiao clan to avoid arousing suspicion. Qiao Yilin's chest heaved up and down violently, but his eyes suddenly turned cold. He said in a cold voice, since Lord Dragon King is so overbearing, then let's see who's the real deal. Before Lei Fan had rushed here, Qiao Yilin had thought of countless ways to deal with Lin Yuan if he were to fall out with him. Among them, the safest way was to use the combined strength of 3 Heaven Dipper Realm experts to fight against Lin Yuan. No matter how ferocious this beast king who had never tasted defeat since he was born was, it was obviously impossible for him to win against 3 Heaven Dipper Realm experts working together. But now, 3 Heaven Dipper Realm experts working together to fight against Lin Yuan? What was the difference between that and an open rebellion? Qiao Yilin very quickly realized that this was Lin Yuan's intention to weaken the Qiao family's strength. Since the Qiao family was in the wrong, they could only choose to take on Lin Yuan's vengeance head-on. If they won today's battle, it would still be fine, although he did not dare to openly kill Lin Yuan. But after dealing a heavy blow to Lin Yuan, he would be able to quickly reap the benefits of that secret. But if he was unable to defeat Lin Yuan, then the Qiao family could really change their leader. Because he did not dare to kill Lin Yuan. But if Lin Yuan were to kill him, he would not have any psychological burden at all. The moment Xiao Yilin's voice fell, he suddenly felt that the water spirit qi in the air had started to flow quickly and was rapidly converging towards his location. F***CK. Xiao Yilin did not care about his demeanor as a Heaven Dipper realm expert as he opened his mouth and cursed out loud. He had intended to exchange a few harsh words with Lin Yuan, secretly cut off some benefits, and let this matter pass. However, he did not expect that Lin Yuan would not have the slightest intention to talk nonsense with him. Almost at the same time, when his face turned cold, Lin Yuan had already begun to make his move. If he was not a Heaven Dipper realm expert and was extremely sensitive to the Heaven-Earth Spirit Qi, he might have already fallen into Lin Yuan's hands. However, although he was cursing out loud, Xiao Yilin's dodging actions were still extremely fast. Almost at the same time that he noticed the abnormality, he had already made a perfect dodge and successfully avoided the area where the water spirit qi gathered the most. However, Xiao Yilin was not the existence of Lin Yuan's previous life, so he was not good at psychological games. When Lin Yuan made his move, he had already guessed that Xiao Yilin would dodge, so his original intention was not to use the water monarch and formless ice to forcefully control Xiao Yilin like how he dealt with the previous demonic beasts. Instead, he deliberately forced Xiao Yilin to dodge. At this moment, seeing that Xiao Yilin had already entered the area that he had predicted, Lin Yuan brazenly activated formless ice. Chapter 312. Ice Realm, Golden Spear, Armored Horse. Lin Yuan's cold voice sounded. Xiao Yilin was slightly startled, and he felt a little uneasy. In the next moment, the water spiritual power gathered around Xiao Yilin instantly turned into pure ice spiritual power and quickly materialized into knights made entirely of ice. These knights directly surrounded Xiao Yilin in the middle and began to attack again and again. Dual-type monster. Xiao Yilin's face stiffened. He spread out his hands, and a layer of blue water shield instantly wrapped around his body. Although the Ice Knight hit the seemingly weak water shield again and again, it only caused ripples to appear on it. Lin Yuan's attack did not succeed, and there was no trace of annoyance in his eyes, but Xiao Yilin was different. A single-type monster was already very difficult to deal with, and a dual-type monster was even more terrifying. At this moment, Lin Yuan just made a move, and no one knew how many killing moves Lin Yuan had in his hands. When the ice spiritual energy was exhausted, and the last Ice Knight collapsed, Xiao Yilin waved his hand and removed the water shield that wrapped around him. He slowly raised his right hand and pointed at Lin Yuan, and said in a deep voice, "It's my turn." The next moment, an incomparably thick water dragon spurted out from Xiao Yilin's palm. It opened its bloody mouth and let out a silent dragon roar, and directly bit at Lin Yuan, who was standing in the same place without moving at all. Courting death. Seeing that Lin Yuan did not dodge, a cold light flashed in Xiao Yilin's eyes. Although his water dragon was only a mimicry, how could the means of a heaven realm expert be so simple? Xiao Yilin was sure that if Lin Yuan took his water dragon head-on, the best outcome would be a serious injury, and he might even lose the ability to fight directly. However, Xiao Yilin subconsciously frowned, vaguely feeling that something was wrong. Lin Yuan's name as Mad Python was widely spread, naturally not because he was arrogant and ignorant, but because Lin Yuan seemed to have nothing in his eyes that was worthy of his fear. However, in terms of fighting, Lin Yuan had reached an astonishing 100% win rate, which was not a result that an arrogant and ignorant person could achieve. After eliminating the possibility that the other party was underestimating him, Xiao Yilin's eyes narrowed. Could it be that Lin Yuan had the ability to easily take on his water dragon charge? The answer was revealed in an instant. Lin Yuan's azure blue vertical pupil lit up, and the special ability of the Monarch of Water was activated. It directly blocked the channel of communication between Xiao Yilin and the water's spiritual energy. Thus, Xiao Yilin's control over the water dragon disappeared instantly. The water dragon that was still aggressive just a moment ago instantly collapsed in front of Lin Yuan's face, turning into a large pool of water that fell to the ground. How is this possible? Xiao Yilin stared blankly at the splashing water, astonishment written all over his face. He never thought that Lin Yuan actually had such a heaven-defying ability to actually be able to cut off his channel of communication with the water's spiritual energy in an instant. As a Heavenly Dipper realm powerhouse who majored in water techniques, after Lin Yuan displayed this unique skill, although it was not enough to directly cripple Xiao Yilin, it was at least 70% of his combat power. In fact, the Monarch of Water talent seemed to be heaven-defying, but in fact, it was not really that powerful. In the face of an existence that was lower than himself, Lin Yuan could casually deprive the other party of their water spiritual energy until he canceled the talent or the other party left the range of his talent. However, in the face of a Heavenly Dipper realm existence like Xiao Yilin, Lin Yuan was far from being able to casually deprive the other party of their ability, but a little interference was not a big problem. Just like just now, when Xiao Yilin's attack was about to reach him, he directly activated his ability to make Xiao Yilin's attack ineffective. As long as Lin Yuan still had the energy to activate his talent, then in front of Lin Yuan, Xiao Yilin would still be a stinky little brother that was at his mercy. Of course, this was also because Lin Yuan and Xiao Yilin's realms were not that far apart. If it was a Void Realm cultivator who used their water ability, although Lin Yuan could still interfere with the other party, at most it would cause some stagnation or awkwardness when the other party used their ability. Not to mention making the other party's attack ineffective. It was hard to say whether or not the other party could even dodge the attack. Wait, Lord Dragon King, if there's anything I can... Before Xiao Yilin's voice fell, Lin Yuan had already started the next round of attacks. After all, Formless Ice and the Monarch of Water were both in cooldown. If he did not seize the opportunity to control the battle rhythm now, when Xiao Yilin realized that he could use the water spiritual energy again, the outcome of the battle would be uncertain. Void's Embrace. This skill evolved from Strangle. Although it was a physical attack, in a sense, it had already become an existence on the level of a causal skill. Almost at the same time that Lin Yuan used it, Lin Yuan's figure had already escaped into the elusive void. In an instant, Lin Yuan had already appeared behind Xiao Yilin, and his shrunken snake body directly wrapped around Xiao Yilin. This is bad. Almost all of the spectating Xiao family cultivators had expressions of horror on their faces. What was the most lethal attack for a python like Lin Yuan? Tail attacks, elements, venom, and the like were just icing on the cake. The real way to kill the enemy quickly and without giving the enemy a chance to resist was the strangle ability that snakes liked and were best at. Unless one's thwart cultivation technique had reached perfection, once entangled by a python, it was impossible to break free. This was why Void's Embrace was comparable to a causal skill in Lin Yuan's eyes. What kind of terrifying ability was it to appear behind the enemy and strangle them in an instant? If it wasn't for the short casting range of this skill, Lin Yuan dared to say that there was nothing in the world that could stop him from killing. After all, the distance between him and Xiao Yilin wasn't far. After a round of fighting, the distance between the two sides was estimated to be less than 20 meters. And this was already the limit of Void's Embrace's casting range. If Xiao Yilin just took a step back, he would be able to escape from Lin Yuan's attack range. Xiao Yilin took a deep breath, feeling the threat of death in his face. At this moment, Xiao Yilin's heart had even given up resisting. He directly closed his eyes and waited for death. But at the same time, Xiao Yilin suddenly felt that there seemed to be a layer of invisible shackles on his body. As time passed, this layer of shackles was constantly weakening. Just as Lin Yuan's snake body was about to wrap around him, Xiao Yilin instantly opened his eyes, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Die! Lin Yuan's low voice suddenly sounded. The snake body changed into an O shape and directly strangled him. Chapter 313. Bang! Xiao Yilin, who was originally in the bag, suddenly turned into a ball of water and was crushed by Lin Yuan. At this moment, the pale-faced Xiao Yilin suddenly appeared about 50 meters behind Lin Yuan. His chest was heaving up and down violently, and he was panting heavily. The ability to switch bodies was considered a very high-level technique in any cultivation system. Not only could it avoid the enemy's attack, but it could also seize the opportunity to counterattack. However, there were many prerequisites for this technique. Most cultivators would need to prepare for a period of time before they could use it. Of course, it wasn't impossible to use it instantaneously like Xiao Yilin, but the consumption would be very terrifying. It was so terrifying that even a Heaven Star Border Realm expert who was constantly absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth would feel exhausted. Seeing that Xiao Yilin had successfully switched bodies, Lin Yuan's snake body stretched out again. A trace of a smile flashed across his eyes. You have some skills. No wonder you are the head of the Qiao clan. However, this level is still far from surviving. Stop. Lord Dragon King, please excuse us for a moment. We can discuss anything. Seeing that Lin Yuan was eager to try, Xiao Yilin quickly raised a hand with fear in his eyes. Xiao Yilin was very clear that whether it was for that secret or for the implementation of the new decree, Lin Yuan would undoubtedly kill the Qiao clan. In the past, Xiao Yilin thought that as a direct descendant of the Qiao clan and the head of the Qiao clan, he could give up everything for the Qiao clan. However, at this moment, in the face of the threat of death, Xiao Yilin suddenly realized that he wasn't as loyal to the Qiao clan as he thought. He disliked the power that the Qiao clan brought him. Therefore, Xiao Yilin didn't have any psychological burden and directly planned to sell out the Qiao clan's interests in exchange for his own safety, including the 2 Heaven Star Border Realm cultivators. All the Qiao clan cultivators were dumbfounded. There was even a trace of resentment in their puzzled eyes. After all, Lin Yuan killing Xiao Yilin was only a personal matter. However, if Xiao Yilin reached an agreement with Lin Yuan, the Qiao clan's interests might not be the only thing that would be betrayed. In the future, the Qiao clan might even be criticized by other clans and sects in other places. But his mentality was similar to Xiao Yilin's. The loyalty of these Qiao family cultivators to the Qiao family was far less than they had imagined. In the face of Lin Yuan's ability to defeat Xiao Yilin in an instant, they still chose to remain silent from the bottom of their hearts. Only when those pairs of blank eyes fell on Lin Yuan would there be slight ripples. Wasn't this demonic beast a little too strong? What do you think? Lin Yuan didn't make a move immediately, but he maintained his attacking posture and asked without turning his head. Although Lin Yuan did not turn his head around, Lei Fan still quickly realized that Lin Yuan was talking to him. After deliberating for a moment, Lei Fan nodded his head slightly and said in a deep voice, "I also feel that this matter can be discussed. Although I am disgusted by the actions of the Qiao family, but any living being would seek a sense of security when they are not feeling uneasy. This is also something to be expected. But I think that although the Qiao family knows some secrets, but they are not so foolish as to announce it to the public." Regarding the decree that Lin Yuan wanted to implement, although there were disagreements within the Northern Frontier King's palaces, they were all existences that had once been enemies with Lin Yuan. Although Lin Yuan was relying on the strength of the Northern Frontier King's palaces and the Demon Emperor's Association, he could only be considered a second-rate force at best. Not to mention a super first-rate force like the Qiao family. Even a first-rate force like the Freedom Yard would be able to thrash him. But looking at the Northern Frontier, there weren't many existences that dared to offend Lin Yuan. After all, this man could mobilize the Hengduan Mountains Beast Tide to attack the Northern Frontier cities with just a single word. To the Northern Frontier that had no city walls now, 1 or 2 Beast Tides might not be a big deal. But as time went by, there would be many such close combat battles. The human side's reproductive ability would be far inferior to the demonic beasts. When that time came, it would only be a matter of time before the Northern Frontier was destroyed. The deterrence of martial strength was one of the reasons. More importantly, Lin Yuan still controlled the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Although it belonged to the Northern Frontier King's palaces in name, everyone knew that the fays and demonic beasts that the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce sold came from Lin Yuan. Once Lin Yuan left the Northern Frontier, the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce would only exist in name. They wouldn't have the guts to enter the Hengduan Mountains to obtain those things. The entire Northern Frontier's economy would be regressed by a few decades. Therefore, looking at the Northern Frontier, there weren't many people that dared to offend Lin Yuan. It could even be said that when Lin Yuan was willing to play with them within the rules, they were actually happy. Therefore, even if there were disagreements within the Northern Frontier King's palaces, no one dared to spread the news. After all, these forces' tolerance for Lin Yuan wasn't limitless. When they knew that Lin Yuan wanted to cut off their foundation and that they couldn't openly resist, they might even be crazy enough to directly assassinate Lin Yuan. The consequences of that weren't something that the Northern Frontier could bear. However, there would always be some lunatics who felt that since they were going to die, they might as well die together. Of course, everyone, please take a seat at the Qiao residence. Qiao Yilin nodded and revealed a somewhat flattering smile. He even regretted his superfluous action. Although he had obtained the secret decree of the Northern Frontier King's palaces, the Northern Frontier King's palaces hadn't released it yet. Therefore, the bowstring hadn't been pulled taut and wouldn't break. The other forces wouldn't directly fall out with Lin Yuan, but the Qiao family, who already knew the secret, naturally became Lin Yuan's first target. Lifting a rock and smashing it on his own feet, Qiao Yilin felt that his previous actions couldn't be more apt to be described with this sentence. The group of Qiao family cultivators dared not speak out despite their anger. Because according to the information that the Qiao family had obtained, the guards of the Northern Frontier had already been prepared to move out when Lei Fan had arrived at the east of the city. Now that Lin Yuan's side had a righteous cause and Lei Fan had already made preparations before setting off, it wasn't something that the Qiao family alone could contend against. Hence, under Qiao Yilin's lead, Lin Yuan, Lei Fan, Luo Su, and Li Zhongxing walked towards the Qiao family's residence without the slightest scruple. They were not worried at all that the Qiao family had set up an ambush there, as if the Qiao family was not even worth mentioning. This kind of contemptuous action caused many of the Qiao family cultivators' faces to burn, but they didn't dare to fall out with them and could only follow obediently at the back of the group, gathering towards the Qiao residence. There were even many people who were eagerly anticipating that the two sides would come to blows because they couldn't come to an agreement. In any case, they didn't believe that after entering the residence that the Qiao family had operated for so many years, these four fellows would still be able to carve out a bloody path out of it unscathed. Chapter 314. At the same time, outside the eastern boundary of the city, the beautiful woman, who was observing Lin Yuan's every move, frowned slightly. A hint of confusion flashed through her eyes, as if she couldn't understand what he was thinking. Her surname was Zhen, and she was born in the Zhen clan of the imperial capital. It was a merchant clan backed by the Grand Secretary. Although her strength wasn't at the peak, she was still considered a member of the upper class among the various powers in the imperial capital. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to so easily get in touch with the abandoned son of the Qiao clan. Moreover, she had followed Lord Zhangxiu's orders and told the abandoned son of the Qiao clan a secret about the northern frontier, which had led to a series of conflicts. Yes, the beautiful woman had long since known what would happen to the abandoned son of the Qiao clan after learning of this secret. Even the Qiao clan knew of this secret because someone she had arranged in her husband's caravan had accidentally leaked the news. Otherwise, the Qiao clan wouldn't have been so free as to detain the leader of a subordinate clan that they had personally supported. As for the conflict between Lin Yuan and the Qiao clan, it was also within her expectations. Even if Lin Yuan didn't rely on the power of faith to cultivate, as the official god of the northern frontier, Lin Yuan wouldn't miss any opportunity to recruit believers, even if it was just for the sake of looking good. Thus, after putting on a show, She directly went to the Blackwater Dragon King Temple and contacted Lin Yuan, all for the sake of luring Lin Yuan into her trap. In addition, the reason the Qiao clan spy could accidentally come into contact with the secret information of the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion was also because of the Embroidered Guard's manipulation. The Embroidered Guard was also involved in the discovery of the identity of the Qiao clan spy in the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion. Their goal was to make the Qiao clan and the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion become enemies. From beginning to end, this was a scheme set up by the Embroidered Guard under Zhang Xiu's command. Moreover, it had started off exceptionally smoothly, with almost every step within the Embroidered Guard's control. Only at the most crucial step, when Lin Yuan faced Qiao Yilin, did the development of the situation suddenly deviate a little. Qiao Yilin was terrified. No one had expected that this person, who represented the Qiao clan's highest authority and the Qiao clan's interests, would be beaten into submission by Lin Yuan in a single exchange. As a result, the Embroidered Uniform Guard's follow-up plans had completely collapsed. They had to come up with a new plan to deal with what would happen next. Thinking of this, the beautiful woman secretly spat. Her feet moved a few steps and quietly disappeared into the crowd. However, the beautiful woman did not notice that before she left the surveillance station, 3 pairs of emotionless eyes had been fixed on her for a long time. One of them was the criminal Xia Siyu, who had been recruited by Lin Yuan. Another was the dark shadow walker, who was always by Lei Fan's side. And the last was the sword dancer, who was always by Su Nan's side. 3 top-class assassins who were proficient in assassination to have their eyes on the same person at the same time. It was clear that Lin Yuan was wary of this beautiful lady. On the other side, in the Qiao clan's residence, Qiao Yilin, who had dismissed the crowd of cultivators, led his 2 Heavenly Dipper Realm brothers to the guest hall and sat down. There was no longer the fawning expression on his face, and it was as cold as a piece of ice that would never melt. Only when his gaze was fixed on Lin Yuan would there be a slight ripple in his eyes. Although every move he had made before was an act, the exchange between him and Lin Yuan was not fake. Both sides were intentionally flexing their muscles. Therefore, Qiao Yilin believed that once the 2 sides really started fighting, Lin Yuan really had the strength to kill him. This made him feel terrified in his heart, and his face grew colder and colder, not daring to show his true feelings. The 5 of them sat down, and Lin Yuan also coiled up his snake body. He smiled and said, "I'll have to trouble the Qiao clan's patriarch to put on a show with us." After all, the Embroidered Guard was an old power of the Shenwu dynasty, an existence comparable to the Sword Dancer and the Shadow Walker. Although the Demon Emperor Society was powerful in the northern frontier, its foundation was still shallow. Naturally, it was impossible for it to completely remove the Embroidered Guard spies. Therefore, the Embroidered Guard would make a comeback sooner or later. This had always been within Lin Yuan's expectations. However, Lin Yuan did not expect that the Embroidered Guard would make such a vicious move this time. It was as if they had directly caused the Northern Frontier's prince's residence to shed all pretense of cordiality with the Qiao clan. They had even made Lin Yuan an enemy of the various forces in the Northern Frontier. Unfortunately, the Embroidered Guard had chosen the wrong opponent in the end. Although the Northern Frontier looked the same as before, a large net had been set up in the dark. From the officials of the city lord's residence to the peddlers and coachmen, almost everyone had Lin Yuan's informants. Some of the Embroidered Guard spies might have thought that their whereabouts were hidden, but their every move had been exposed to Lin Yuan's eyes long ago. Lin Yuan naturally had to be on guard against an existence like the beautiful woman who had taken the initiative to come to him with a secret. Therefore, after she left the Dragon King's temple, Lin Yuan immediately contacted Sherdong, the person in charge of the Demon Emperor Society in Shunning City, and began to follow the beautiful woman's trail. As expected, he discovered that this woman had made contact with a few people who were suspected to be members of the Embroidered Guard. Not only did she confirm the identities of these Embroidered Guard members, she also made it clear that there was something wrong with her. Therefore, Lin Yuan very naturally completed the prelude according to her script. When the matter reached the critical point, he privately communicated with Qiao Yilin, which led to the scene outside. Of course, although Xiao Yilin was cooperating with Lin Yuan after the battle, he was indeed afraid of Lin Yuan. Otherwise, he would not have publicly humiliated himself. Lord Dragon King, our next step is... A cold glint flashed in Xiao Yilin's eyes. In the past, when the Qiao family was glorious in the northern frontier, even Lei Qiuxing had to be courteous when he personally came to the northern frontier. A mere embroidered guard actually dared to use the Qiao family as a chess piece. Wait. Lin Yuan closed his eyes and said casually. Then, without waiting for the others to speak again, he added, "We have disrupted the embroidered guard's original plan, so they will panic. Moreover, they will quickly formulate a new plan to make up for their mistake. We may not be a match for the embroidered guard if we play such underhanded tricks. Therefore, we must make use of our powerful advantage in the northern frontier and wipe them out when they reveal a flaw. That is what we should do." Now, the embroidered guard only had two choices. The first was to make that secret public. This way, Lin Yuan and the Qiao family would have to speed up their pace and reap the benefits before the other factions could react. After all, the Qiao family couldn't back down when they were just one step away from the door, right? The other choice was to make Lin Yuan's unannounced decree public. At that time, not only would the Qiao family become Lin Yuan's enemy, but all the factions in the northern frontier wouldn't let this matter rest. If they didn't choose either of these two paths, then the embroidered guard could only choose to give up on the northern frontier and quickly retreat. Chapter 315. Both options posed a great threat to Lin Yuan. At the same time, they were the only two options the embroidered uniform guard could choose to take action while hiding in the dark. However, from the ruler's position, the embroidered uniform guard was more likely to choose the first option. After all, Lei Qiuxing wasn't some incompetent emperor. On the contrary, Lei Qiuxing, who had a strong desire to control power, would never give up on this decree that would greatly harm the various aristocratic families and sections. The northern frontier just so happened to be one of the test subjects. Therefore, the embroidered uniform guard that belonged to the Xinwu dynasty wouldn't choose to announce Lin Yuan's decree at this time unless they were mentally retarded. This would cause Lei Qiuxing to be dissatisfied, and at the same time, it would arouse the vigilance of the various factions. If they wanted to do something similar in the future, it would take twice the effort for half the result. Of course, anything was possible. After all, Zhang Xiao, who they had only heard of but hadn't seen, hadn't come to the northern frontier yet. Therefore, it was hard to say who the person in charge of this operation would be. It was also unknown how intelligent the other party was. What they were afraid of was that Zhang Xiao had been commanding from afar the entire time, while Lin Yuan had set up a counterattack. Although it wouldn't be enough to make the other party throw away their armor, it wouldn't be a problem to a certain degree. When the time came, Zhang Xiao would be separated from the embroidered uniform guard in the northern frontier. It was possible that the embroidered uniform guard in the northern frontier would make any kind of decision. Unfortunately, the embroidered uniform guard had chosen the wrong opponent in the end. Although the northern frontier wasn't small, there weren't many people moving around. Only a few merchants would come to the northern frontier to purchase various phase and demon beast materials. Not everyone had the courage to live under the same roof as the demon beasts. Therefore, after Lin Yuan ruled the northern frontier, anyone who moved to the northern frontier was under the surveillance of the Demon Emperor Association. Therefore, the embroidered uniform guard's little tricks couldn't be hidden from Lin Yuan. In addition, when the embroidered uniform guard was choosing a target, they shouldn't have chosen the Qiao clan. The development of the situation had been going according to the embroidered uniform guard's plan. However, Lin Yuan had taken the opportunity to communicate with Xiao Yilin during the fight, so the matter wouldn't be out of the embroidered uniform guard's control. One reason why Xiao Yilin was that he wasn't a match for Lin. Another reason was that the Qiao clan had the ability to investigate the embroidered uniform guard. Lord Dragon King, although our two clans are cooperating now, there are some things that I still have to ask clearly. Xiao Yilin stroked his beard and said in a deep voice, although the embroidered uniform guard is involved in this matter, the decree should have come from you. right? I just want to ask clearly. Do you really want the Northern Frontier's aristocratic families and sects to be destroyed? What if you do? Lin Yuan grinned, revealing a meaningful smile. After pondering for a moment, he replied with a question. Xiao Yilin took a deep breath and gently shook his head. He replied, I'm not a match for the Dragon King. Even if the Qiao clan can stop the Dragon King for a while, it won't be able to stop the Dragon King forever. If the Dragon King insists on doing this, I hope that on account of the Qiao clan's willingness to cooperate with the Dragon King, you will give the Qiao clan a way out. Even if that doesn't work, please allow the Qiao clan to move out of the northern frontier. Lin Yuan suddenly sneered. His eyes suddenly became deep as he said indifferently, Patriarch Xiao, if you were the ruler of the northern frontier, would you wish for other voices to exist in your territory? If you had the chance, would you choose to coexist with these powers that could shake your rule at any time, or would you choose to eradicate them? This, Xiao Yilin narrowed his eyes slightly. For a moment, he didn't know how to respond. If he were the ruler of the northern frontier and had the right opportunity, of course he would eradicate these powers. But the problem was that the northern frontier wasn't under the Qiao clan's rule, but his Qiao clan was one of these powers. The so-called aristocratic families and sects, in my opinion, are all the same. They are nothing more than a group of people who formed a group for some benefits. Whether these people originally did it for benefits or for righteousness, in essence, they are powers that have jumped out of the control of the northern frontier's ruler. Their combined power can even easily replace the ruler of the northern frontier. Therefore, they are existences that no ruler can tolerate. But then again, no matter when, aristocratic families and sects are bound to appear. For example, among the 7 castellans of the northern frontier, except for the Hu clan that has been guarding Shunning City for generations, the other 6 castellans were transferred from the Xinwu dynasty. In the local area, except for relying on the strength of the local garrison, they have almost no deterrence to speak of. Nominally, they are castellans, but in reality, they are restrained by aristocratic families and sects everywhere. Under my rule, their status hasn't changed much, but in 10 years or 100 years, they will become the new aristocratic families of the northern frontier. Therefore, my intention has never been to annihilate powers like the aristocratic families and sections. I only hope to bring these powers under my control, and at the same time set a new set of rules to unify these powers in a circle. If they are willing to abide by the rules, then they can naturally continue to exist. But if they want to challenge the rules, then they must suffer my endless fury. Lin Yuan's voice was very soft, but in Xiao Yilin's ears, it was like a clap of thunder. After all, ordinary people joined sects to cultivate, but the Northern Frontier Academy set up by Lin Yuan could perfectly achieve this. Once enrolled, they would be students. Although the treatment was different according to the aptitude, at least some of the chores would be done by the ordinary staff hired by the academy. It was not like ordinary sects, where disciples were nominally disciples, but in reality, they were handymen, and all the dirty and tiring work was thrown to the grassroots disciples who had no background to speak of. But it was absolutely impossible for aristocratic families to be abolished. Today's 7 castellans, and even some of the generals of the Northern Frontier Guard Corps, would become the new aristocratic families of the Northern Frontier in 10 years, or a few decades. If Lin Yuan wanted to abolish aristocratic families, it meant that he would become the enemy of everyone. After all, who didn't shed their blood to achieve meritorious deeds and protect their descendants. Understood. Qiao Yilin stood up and said in a deep voice, Lord Dragon King, the Qiao family is willing to donate all the land under our name to the Northern Frontier Prince's Mansion. In addition, I will also arrange for people to make copies of the cultivation manuals in the Qiao family storage. When the Northern Frontier Academy is officially established, it will be sent over. To be able to become the head of a superclass power like the Qiao family, Qiao Yilin's mind was undoubtedly very flexible. After understanding Lin Yuan's future plans, he quickly figured out how to protect the Qiao family. Buying the 380th monthly ticket. Chapter 316. Qiao Yilin was very clear that his words and actions today would cause the Qiao family to suffer a huge blow, to the point that they would fall out of the ranks of the superpowers. From a great family outside the Northern Frontier Prince's Mansion to a great family under the control of the Northern Frontier Prince's Mansion. Just thinking about it would cause countless Qiao family disciples to feel dissatisfied. But Qiao Yilin did not regret his words and actions in the slightest. After all, the Qiao family had been passed down for close to 1,000 years. Outsiders might think that the Qiao family was stubborn and obstinate, abiding by the old traditions, but in reality, that was not the case. Every era had its own rules, and those who could not accept the new rules would undoubtedly be eliminated by the new era. Now that Lin Yuan had appeared, it was the prelude to the new era. Don't look at how Lin Yuan could only influence the Northern Frontier now. But given enough time, the entire Sky Martial continent would be under his control. Qiao Yilin's heart was as clear as a mirror. If he chose to suffer some losses now and accept the new order brought by Lin Yuan, then the Qiao family would be able to continue on. After a few hundred years, the situation might change, and the Qiao family would be able to easily take back what was rightfully theirs. And even if the situation did not change, the Qiao family would still continue to exist, and they could patiently wait for the opportunity to come. And if Qiao Yilin chose to be conservative and felt that Lin Yuan's plan would be nipped in the bud, then he could already start preparing his will. Just like what Lin Yuan had said earlier, the Qiao family would have a new leader, and if the new leader was not willing to cooperate with Lin Yuan, then the Qiao family might not even exist anymore. You are a promising child. Lin Yuan nodded his head in satisfaction. Although he was not surprised by Qiao Yilin's choice, but before communicating with Qiao Yilin, Lin Yuan had indeed made plans to eradicate the Qiao family. It was just that he needed time to prepare. Now that the Qiao family had tactfully chosen to admit defeat, then it was better to save some effort. Even Lei Fan's eyes revealed a look of surprise. After all, in the entire Northern Frontier, the most difficult family to deal with was the Qiao family. Now that even the Qiao family had surrendered without a fight, if the remaining families wanted to resist, they would have to consider whether they could withstand the wrath of the Northern Frontier Prince's Mansion. As for the sects, there was bound to be a battle between the two parties. Although Lin Yuan and Lei Fan did not object to the various sects coming to the Northern Frontier to set up dojos to impart their cultivation techniques, it was not a problem for them to open dojos and accept disciples. However, using the name of opening dojos and accepting disciples as an excuse to annex the land would be touching Lei Fan and Lin Yuan's reverse scale. While they were talking, Xia Siyu walked out of the void and said in a deep voice, "Demon Emperor, just as you expected." The woman surnamed Jun immediately met with several people with high status in the embroidered guard after you, and Master Qiao began to negotiate peace. Before we could find out what they were plotting, a piece of news began to spread among the cultivators in Shunning City. Oh! Lin Yuan raised his eyelids slightly and pretended to be surprised. Although he did not know what the beautiful woman had not told him about the secret, but from the reaction of the Qiao family, the profit this secret could bring was definitely not low. Otherwise, Qiao Yilin would not have been schemed against by the embroidered guard. 14,000 miles to the east of Shunning City, there is a mirror-like lake in the demonic beast forest. It covers an area of about 500 meters, but once you go deep into the lake, you will find that there is another world inside. Dive down for about 3,000 meters, and you will enter an underwater world. There are countless demonic beasts of the Water Clan, but there are also countless spiritual objects of the Water Clan. Moreover, these spiritual objects are not young, and you can casually bring them back and make a fortune. Xia Siyu continued expressionlessly. In addition, as if to prove what I said, several valuable water spirit objects have already appeared in the black market of Shunning City. Because the other party rented our stall in the black market to trade, the black market has no right to detain them. Ever since Lin Yuan ruled the Northern Frontier, he had also made great efforts to reform the black market. In the past, the black market could be said to be a mix of crooks and honest people. The low-level cultivators were all mortal evolution states who wanted to broaden their horizons, and the high-level cultivators who wanted to try their luck and see if there were any good treasures. As a place that could attract void nether state cultivators, it went without saying what kind of treasures could be brought out. However, while the black market had a large number of transactions, the security was not outstanding. It was not uncommon for people to fight over a few treasures and even affect the order of the black market. There were even cases of buyers robbing the vendors because they could not afford the price. In short, it was a mess. If one did not have a certain level of strength, not many people would dare to trade in the black market. After all, the probability of being killed and robbed was too high. There were even some unscrupulous shops that would kill the buyer after selling the item. The next day, they would hang the treasure in the shop again and wait for the next unlucky person. After Lin Yuan took over Shunning City, he made drastic changes to the black market. Some unscrupulous shop owners were directly killed by Lin Yuan on the spot, and their corpses were hung on the city wall to warn others. He also set up security in the black market. Anyone who wanted to cause trouble in the black market would have to consider if they had the power. Even if they had the power, they would not be nameless people. Lin Yuan would personally take revenge on the other party after the matter was over. Although the black market was still called the black market, there was a new order and a safe trading environment. No matter who wanted to sell items in the black market, they would have to register their identity in the Northern Frontier Prince's Mansion and then get a number plate to set up their stall in the black market. If the Northern Frontier Prince's Mansion approved it, then even if Lei Fan came personally, he would not be able to interfere with the other party's trade. That's interesting. A cold glint flashed across Lei Fan's eyes as he frowned and said, "If that's the case, then the news released by the embroidered uniform guard might not be true. According to what I know, the embroidered uniform guard has quite a number of valuable spiritual items in their storage. If they want to set up a trap to deceive us, they would just have to spend a little money. But those who believe in this secret might have to pay with their lives." As his voice fell, Xiao Yilin's face immediately turned a little unnatural. He had not thought that this whole matter was a trap set up by the embroidered uniform guard from the beginning to the end. And as a water attribute cultivation technique cultivator, he had not hesitated to fall out with Lin Yuan for the sake of those precious water attribute spiritual items. But now, it seemed that even this secret might be fake. The embroidered uniform guard had completely played him for a fool. No, this secret should be real. A serious look flashed across Lin Yuan's eyes as he said in a deep voice, "Although creating something out of nothing is tempting, but if you want to set up a killing trap, you still have to see it with your own eyes." Chapter 317. As the saying went, seeing is believing didn't mean that just showing a few water-type spiritual items was enough. Once the secret was spread, it would undoubtedly attract many people to investigate. However, there were too many false rumors in the Tianwu continent. So, even those who didn't like to use their brains wouldn't rashly start a fight with cultivators who had the same goal as them before confirming the truth of the rumor. If they wanted to turn the entire situation into a killing trap, then even if the embroidered uniform guard had to set it up themselves, they had to create a true secret realm. If the embroidered uniform guard had been at their peak, it wouldn't have been much of a problem for them to create such a secret realm. However, the entire Northern Frontier's underworld was now under the control of the Demon Emperor Association. The embroidered uniform guard spies had been wiped out one batch after another before they barely managed to survive. So, unless this secret realm had been set up long ago, it should be true. Then what should we do? Xiao Yilin raised his eyebrows and asked subconsciously. He was still very concerned about this secret realm. Previously, he had even gone as far as to fall out with Lin Yuan. Now that the embroidered uniform guard had leaked this secret, there would definitely be many cultivators who would return to explore it. If Lin Yuan hadn't expressed his desire to take this secret realm, then he wouldn't have minded using the Qiao family's power. However, he still had to act according to Lin Yuan's mood. Of course, we'll spread the news with them. A faint smile flashed through Lin Yuan's eyes. He sneered. Didn't the embroidered uniform guard say that this is a secret realm with countless priceless spiritual items? I don't think that's the right way to put it. Lei Fan, find someone to spread the rumor as well. Just say that the lake is the burial ground of a fallen dragon. And not only are there valuable water attribute spirit objects there might even be the blood essence of a dragon. The 6 people in the reception room looked at each other. Did this guy think that this wasn't big enough? But in next to no time, Qiao Yilin understood Lin Yuan's intentions. After all of this had been a scheme planned by the embroidered guard since the beginning, so it was naturally impossible for them to just hand over the secret realm. So, the embroidered guard would definitely organize a large number of people to enter the secret realm to search for treasures. On the other hand, Lin Yuan's actions were for the sake of attracting even more independent cultivators to the secret realm, and he was waiting for both sides to fight over the treasures beneath the lake. As for whether or not they would accidentally injure Lin Yuan's people, this was naturally not within Lin Yuan's consideration. The men from the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion had sealed off the entire region. After all, the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion was in a cooperative relationship with the demonic beasts of the Hungduan Mountains. The other cultivation forces would have to sneak their way into the lake. However, Lei Fan had no such qualms. As long as his men did not step foot into the Hungduan Mountains, the demonic beasts would not bother him. When the time came, those cultivators who had entered the lake would have to risk their lives to come out of the secret realm. Whether or not they could bring away the treasures, and how many treasures they could bring away, would all depend on Lei Fan's mood. As for the matter of screening the members of the embroidered guard, it was even simpler. Although the independent cultivators were a little more relaxed, they would still join forces against the various aristocratic families and sects to deal with existences that they normally did not dare to provoke. So, once the members of the embroidered guard entered the secret realm, they would naturally choose to group up or mingle with the independent cultivators. However, they would definitely come into contact with each other. According to the list of names that the Council of the Demon Emperor had, Lin Yuan believed that he would be able to ferret out the remaining forces of the embroidered guard in the northern frontier very quickly. Time trickled by. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days had passed. After Lin Yuan's group left the Qiao clan, they had been holed up in Shunning City, not taking even half a step outside. The Qiao clan did not have any unusual reaction either. This left the members of the embroidered guard helpless. After all, their opponents had left them with no openings at all. However, recently, the news that they had spread out into various cultivators' gathering places had actually become even more explosive. For example, the secret realm was the burial ground of an ancient dragon clan, and there might be dragon clan blood essence and other treasures of heaven and earth inside. If that was all, it would be fine. However, there were actually people who said that the secret realm had a young ancient dragon clan left behind. If they were lucky enough to encounter it, they could tame it as a pet and raise it to be a great fighting force. This secret realm was discovered by the embroidered guard. Although time was short, the embroidered guard did not completely investigate it. It was hard to say whether this underwater secret realm had anything to do with the ancient dragon clan, but they were certain that there was absolutely no young ancient dragon clan in the secret realm. There wasn't even a dragon bloodline demon beast. At the same time, in the southern district of the city, in a tea house called Coiled Incense, the woman surnamed Jun rested her chin on her right hand and gazed deeply at the street outside the window. She muttered, "Something's not right. The Black Snake clan might already know about our plan." Recently, there has been a lot of rumors. Perhaps the Black Snake clan deliberately released it through the Demon Emperor Association. Their goal is to attract powerful cultivators to compete with us for the secret realm. At this moment, she finally understood what it meant to shoot oneself in the foot. At the very beginning, they were the ones who released the news. Their goal was to give the Black Snake clan a sense of urgency and force them to explore the secret realm with the Qiao clan. As long as these two forces entered the secret realm at the same time, there was a possibility that they would fight over the various spiritual items in the secret realm. In the end, not only did the Black Snake clan not feel any urgency, they even spread the news with them. In fact, they were even more exaggerated than them. It was as if they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to attract powerful characters. And now, the Black Snake clan and the Qiao clan still had no intention of setting off. It was as if they had already given up on this secret realm. However, while the Black Snake clan and the Chow clan could do this, the Northern Frontier Embroidered Uniform Guard couldn't. This was because they were the ones who discovered this secret realm. Originally, they only planned to use it to set up a trap. Then, while both sides were still preparing, they would directly take away the wealth in the secret realm, making the Black Snake clan and Xiao Yilin's efforts go in vain. When the time came, the possibility of both sides attacking each other in anger would sharply increase. However, the wealth in the secret realm belonged to the Embroidered Uniform Guard. Even if they didn't have the opportunity now, they still had to bring the wealth out and wait for a certain Embroidered Uniform Guard to count it. Therefore, if they wanted to give up this secret realm, it was equivalent to them taking out wealth equivalent to the spiritual items they had reported to the Embroidered Uniform Guard to fill the gap. In other words, even if they wanted to run now, they couldn't afford to. Even if they knew that Lin Yuan had already dug a big hole for them in the secret realm, they could only pinch their noses and jump in. Let's set off. If we're late, others might really take advantage of us. The woman surnamed Zhun sighed faintly. She was the first to stand up and walk out of the tea house, walking towards the city gate. Chapter 318. At dusk, outside the secret realm, Lin Yuan's gaze swept across the lake that had been blown to the heavens, and there was not the slightest ripple in his eyes. He had to go down and take a look at this secret realm, although he was now stuck at a bottleneck and had to wait until he completely transformed into a flood dragon before he could continue to level up. Even if he could not use the water-type phase in the secret realm, it would not be a problem for him to temporarily store them. Lin Yuan did not really believe in the vision of these cultivators. After all, when the people from the northern frontier entered the Hengduan mountain range to collect phase, they had vividly demonstrated this point. Some of the rare, valuable, and powerful phase were not recognized by them. Even if they were close at hand, they were too lazy to pick them, or they did not know how to pick them at all. Not only did they not obtain the phase, but they also damaged the phase. Among these cultivators that had gathered, there were almost no existences that could catch Lin Yuan's attention, except for the leaders of the various large families and sections. Therefore, Lin Yuan still decided to go down and take a look personally so that he would not miss out on any precious treasures. Although the mission was not completed and could even be said to have failed, Lin Yuan still figured out what the Joss Flame model subfunction conversion was. Strictly speaking, it was an existence that belonged to the causal series like his blood sacrifice wishing art. However, Lin Yuan's blood sacrifice wishing art was too random, and the result was almost uncontrollable. For example, if Lin Yuan wished to directly fill up his Flood Dragon Transformation progress bar, it might be enough to sacrifice a little blood, or it might not be enough even if he sacrificed the entire northern frontier. These were all unknown variables of this skill. If he wanted to achieve his goal, he had to do his best. Once the price was too high, he could only blame himself for being unlucky. What was even more frightening was that he had done his best, but the final result was still failure. However, conversion was different. It used the power of Joss Flames as a price to fulfill Lin Yuan's wish. Once Lin Yuan unlocked the conversion function, when he wished to fill up his Flood Dragon Transformation progress bar, the conversion function would directly tell Lin Yuan how much Joss Flames he needed to achieve this. Based on the effects alone, the conversion was definitely superior, but Lin Yuan didn't think so. Firstly, the conversion function has great restrictions. Lin Yuan can only use it near his Black Water Dragon King temple, otherwise it will attract natural disasters. And calling it a natural disaster was a bit inappropriate. It was probably a failure to cast a spell, and he would be struck by lightning. In addition, the conversion price was fixed. This was a very inflexible point for Lin Yuan. For example, Lin Yuan might have to sacrifice a lot of blood to summon a rainstorm, but now, Lin Yuan only needed to sacrifice 1 or 2 drops of blood to summon a rainstorm. However, the conversion subfunction was different. For example, it was still summoning a rainstorm. Lin Yuan now had to pay a full 100 points of incense power to do so. In the future, Even if Lin Yuan stepped into the desolate demon realm, or even higher, he would also have to pay 100 points of incense power to summon this rainstorm. As time passed, the cultivators from the various aristocratic families and sects finally all arrived. There was also a large group of idle cultivators huddled in the camp to the side, busying themselves with their own matters. Between cultivators of different backgrounds, there was actually a chain of contempt. Just like how cultivators with imperial backgrounds looked down on the disciples of aristocratic families, and these disciples of aristocratic families looked down on those who came from sections. As for the scattered cultivators who gathered together, they didn't plan to enter the water at all. They knew very well that in the chain of contempt, they were undoubtedly the lowest existences. Now that the master of the northern frontier, the Dragon King, had appeared, if anyone dared to overestimate themselves and try to take the lead before Lin Yuan entered the water, what awaited them would definitely be a concentrated attack from various factions. However, in addition to the respectful and envious gazes, Lin Yuan also keenly sensed that there were many gazes filled with hatred in the crowd. They should be the secret agents of the embroidered guard. However, these people's expressions were very well controlled. When they saw Lin Yuan looking over, they began to whistle and look up at the sky, as if they weren't the ones who wanted to tear a piece of flesh off Lin Yuan's body with their gazes. Splash! Lin Yuan didn't waste too much time and directly dove into the lake. In any case, the water was his home ground. Even if the embroidered guard sent out a Heaven Dipper realm existence, it wouldn't be easy to deal with him underwater. This was why Lin Yuan dared to enter the water alone. As Lin Yuan made his move, the cultivators present also impatiently jumped into the water. However, they still maintained some restraint. The first to enter the water were the cultivators from the various aristocratic families and sections. It was as if the scattered cultivators weren't the slightest bit interested in the spirit items in the secret realm. It wasn't until the last cultivator with a background jumped into the water that the scattered cultivators began to move. A large group of embroidered guard members mixed in with the scattered cultivators looked at the calm surface of the water, speechless. They hadn't even entered the water yet. They reckoned that there were already some lucky existences below who had found a decent spirit item. As for the plan to assassinate Lin Yuan, it was directly pushed back by the members of the embroidered guard. After all, their first priority now was to collect the spiritual items in the secret realm and solve this matter before the higher-ups arrived. At this time, if they wasted time fighting with Black Snake, they would be the ones to suffer in the end. Let's go! The veiled woman surnamed Jun waved her hand and directly jumped into the lake. This wasn't the first time she had come to this place. In fact, when the embroidered guard had first discovered this place, she could be considered a member of their team. However, exploring an unknown secret realm was undoubtedly very difficult. Therefore, the Jun family exerted their strength and directly transferred her out. She still didn't know what was inside the secret realm. However, she couldn't be more familiar with everything outside the secret realm. While entering the water, the woman surnamed Jun discovered that Lin Yuan, who was the first to enter the water, wasn't in a hurry to enter the secret realm to find spirit items. Instead, he was floating in the lake. Those strange vertical pupils of different colors just happened to fall on her body. Although Lin Yuan didn't say anything, the woman surnamed Jun could still feel the ridicule in Lin Yuan's eyes. It seemed as if he had been waiting here for a long time. Hyla, don't waste any more time. Hurry up and load the cannon and adjust the angle. The woman surnamed Jun narrowed her eyes and hurriedly urged him. Chapter 319. The various equipment of the embroidered uniform guard could be said to be top-notch. Even when exploring the secret underwater realm, the members of the embroidered uniform guard would still carry cannons that could be fired underwater. However, compared to the heavy cannons on the city walls, the cannons that could be carried with them were not that powerful. Still, it was more than enough to deal with ordinary cultivators and demonic beasts. Although the woman surnamed Jin knew that the cannons they carried posed a laughably low threat to Lin Yuan, they had just entered the water. If they revealed their trump cards one by one, how would they fight for the treasures in the secret realm later? Upon hearing this, the subordinates of the woman surnamed Jun began to load the cannons with special gunpowder. However, the woman surnamed Jun's gaze was fixed on Lin Yuan from beginning to end, as if she was afraid that Lin Yuan would suddenly launch a surprise attack. However, the woman surnamed Jun's actions could only be described as vigilance. It was far from fear. Lin Yuan memorized the appearances of these people one by one. Then he grinned at the woman surnamed Jun with a mischievous smile. Suddenly, he swung his serpent tail. He had no intention of fighting to the death here at all, as he quickly dove into the deeper waters. The embroidered uniform guard would not place all their treasures in one place, especially when the woman surnamed Jun had already been exposed. They would not allow all their members to follow behind her. Therefore, when Lin Yuan intercepted the woman surnamed Jun, many members of the embroidered uniform guard had already taken advantage of the chaos to sneak into the secret realm. Lin Yuan wasting time here would only give those people the opportunity to collect all kinds of rare treasures in advance. Phew! When Lin Yuan's figure could no longer be seen, a member of the embroidered uniform guard let out a long sigh of relief. Being suddenly targeted by a terrifying giant python in the dark and quiet waters was not a feeling that anyone could accept. This was especially true when they knew that the giant python was not curious about them, nor did it have a desire to hunt them out of hunger. Instead, it simply had a murderous intent and malice towards them. The woman surnamed Jun coldly snorted and said expressionlessly, "You're scared already? There are still many places where we will fight this black snake later. If anyone is scared, take advantage of this opportunity to leave the group and follow old Zhang and the others to collect treasures. Don't stay in the operation team and drag me down. I advise you to stop dreaming. This black snake will definitely not let us go so easily. If you are even the slightest bit careless, you might lose your life. Therefore, don't think that the operation team's merit points are high and want to gamble. If you can earn merit points, you have to be alive to spend them." The embroidered uniform guards operation team had to come up with a reasonable plan based on the approximate value and distribution of water-type spirit items from the previous exploration of the secret realm. They would try their best to collect as many spirit items as possible. But this task wasn't easy. If they could be easily dealt with the secret realms, they would not have waited. If they could their best, SS to collect the spirit items in the secret realm. With S's, S, B, and Teams's. After all, it was easy to enter a secret realm with a special environment like this, but difficult to leave. If one didn't have the ability, they didn't even have the qualifications to watch the show. Apart from those reckless fellows, almost all the cultivators they encountered were existences that could threaten the embroidered uniform guards treasure hunting team. The operation team had fewer members and was led by the woman surnamed Jun. They didn't need to be responsible for collecting spirit items, but they needed to support the treasure hunting team. Once they discovered that their own people were fighting with wandering cultivators or aquatic monsters, they had to consider whether to head elsewhere or quickly provide support. After all, the secret realm was quite large. Wasting time on unnecessary matters might not make up for the losses. Now that they had encountered the black snake, the operation team members felt that the responsibility on their shoulders had clearly increased. It was very clear that the black snake hadn't appeared here to greet them in a friendly manner. After entering the secret realm, not only would they have to think of a way to deal with the cultivators who were trying to steal the treasures, they would also have to be on guard against the black snake that might appear out of nowhere and attack them. At this time, Lin Yuan, who had just met the members of the embroidered uniform guard, was moving through the water with an expressionless face. This body of water was quite strange. On the surface, it only had an area of 500 square kilometers, but when one entered the water, one would discover that this was a convex terrain. After diving for 500 or 600 meters, Lin Yuan could no longer see the surrounding rock walls. He was still far from reaching the bottom of the lake. To be more precise, he hadn't even passed through the shallow waters. However, this was the most terrifying part. Lin Yuan's cultivation was at the peak of the 10th level of the wisdom realm. His physical body was incomparably strong after cultivating the golden body technique and possessing the flood dragon scale armor. However, in this 500 or 600-meter deep body of water, Lin Yuan still felt the water pressure pressing against his muscles. This was also because he was a water-type monster, which had a high resistance to water pressure underwater. I can only enter the secret realm after diving 3,000 meters? Whoa! Lin Yuan was a little shocked. The person who had set up this secret realm was so extravagant. The water pressure alone was enough to eliminate those who tried to enter the secret realm to take advantage of the situation. Without one or two tricks up their sleeves, ordinary cultivators at the first or second level of the airborne realm would have reached the limit of 500 or 600 meters deep in this body of water. There might indeed be many priceless treasures in the secret realm, but it was clear that the person who had set up the secret realm didn't intend to let ordinary people and mediocre people get their hands on their things. This time, because of the rumors, there might be 7,000 or 8,000 people who came to the secret realm to look for treasures. However, in the end, less than 1 in 10 would be able to enter the secret realm. The remaining type of people should be water-type cultivators, making up the majority. Lin Yuan felt that if he were to be robbed of good treasures in this kind of environment, and with the innate ability of the water monarch, he might as well just find a place and kill himself. There was no need to come out and embarrass himself. Lin Yuan began to dive once again with that thought in mind. His speed was close to 10 times faster than the cultivators around him. After all, although the water pressure was there, it was far from enough to threaten Lin Yuan. With the speed, he would have no problem diving 3,000 meters down. Unless this secret realm was impossible to enter at all, and the water pressure below was enough to squeeze a peak wisdom realm monster like him to death. However, if that was the case, there was no way to explain how the embroidered guard had explored this secret realm. Moreover, among the members of the embroidered guard, there were only a few heaven realm cultivators. The rest were basically at the 8th or 9th level of the airborne realm. In any force, they would only be regarded as a mainstay. Chapter 320. Finally, he reached the bottom of the lake after sneaking for 3,000 meters. Lin Yuan stretched his snake body, gradually expelling the discomfort caused by the increasing water pressure. His body returned to its peak state, and only then did he let out a long sigh. Along the way, Lin Yuan not only saw a lot of cultivators who were still trying to dive down, but he also saw some cultivators who began to float up with sad faces. For such people, their lack of strength would always be the biggest failure. If they lacked strength, they needed spiritual items to make up for it. If they did not have enough strength, they could only miss out on such a secret realm. As such, the spiritual items in the secret realm had nothing to do with them, which almost became an endless cycle. As such, the truly powerful cultivators were either extremely talented or had extremely wealthy forces behind them. Grassroots cultivators could only eat the leftovers of others. They had to become stepping stones for others to prove themselves. Lin Yuan built the academy on the northern frontier with the purpose of fostering such grassroots cultivators. That was because he did not want the forces he built in the future to still have countless voices, big and small. As such, if things like clans and sects did not follow Lin Yuan's rules, they could only be wiped out. The history books in his previous life had already proved too much. When a dynasty was in its twilight years, the last straw that broke the camel's back would never be the foreign enemies and barbarians that were greatly exaggerated in the history books. Instead, it would be the aristocratic families that were born from the dynasty, who were growing stronger day by day and were not complacent. Lin Yuan saw that the eyes of those grassroots cultivators were sympathetic. There was no lack of good seedlings among those who were able to cultivate to the airborne realm as grassroots cultivators. However, at their age, they had obviously missed out on Lin Yuan's academy plan, and their fates would not change. Black Snake, Wild Python, Lord Dragon King. A series of shouts woke Lin Yuan from his thoughts. When Lin Yuan looked around, not only did he see a rift valley that was sealed by a huge rock, but he also saw some cultivators gathered in 2s and 3s. At that moment, their eyes fell on Lin Yuan. Their eyes were filled with fear, admiration, hatred, and all kinds of other emotions. Those who called him Black Snake were basically those who stood at the top of the northern frontier. They were the forces of various sects and clans. Ever since Lin Yuan took control of the northern frontier, the privileges of these sects and clans were wiped out one by Lin Yuan. In the past, when they spent in some of the more famous shops in the northern frontier, they could at least get a 30% or 20% discount by using the name of their sect. But now, all commercial activities in the northern frontier were under the control of the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Not only did the disciples of these sects and clans lose their discounts, but whether or not they could buy what they wanted depended on Lin Yuan's mood. Other benefits were almost cut off, and those who called him Wild Python were basically the idle cultivators around the northern frontier. In the end, they had not experienced the fear of being controlled by Lin Yuan. They did not know how terrifying Lin Yuan's power was in the northern frontier. Therefore, they thought that Lin Yuan dared to take control of the northern frontier from the Xinwu dynasty purely because of the current situation. When the Xinwu dynasty took action in the future, Lin Yuan would definitely suffer the crazy revenge of the Xinwu dynasty. Therefore, they called Lin Yuan Wild Python, more or less with a hint of contempt. As for those who called Lin Yuan Lord Dragon King, they were the disciples of various aristocratic families in the northern frontier. Almost all of them had shares in the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce under Lin Yuan's control. Following Lin Yuan's series of operations to monopolize the spiritual items, almost all of these aristocratic families had eaten until their mouths were dripping with oil. Their respect for this anomaly, like Lin Yuan, was probably much higher than Hu Yan's. However, Lin Yuan did not care how others called him. In any case, it was just a codename. As long as they did not block his path, it was fine. Otherwise, Lin Yuan did not mind wasting some time to directly crush them into dregs. Why did you all stop here? Lin Yuan looked around and took the initiative to ask. A disciple of an aristocratic family stood up from his resting position and said in a deep voice, "The area we are in is already the bottom of this lake, and a real secret realm is under this rift valley. Right now, the rift valley is sealed by a huge rock. At a certain time, when the moonlight shines, the entrance to the secret realm will be activated and the huge rock will be pushed out. At that time, we will be able to enter the secret realm." Understood. Thank you. Lin Yuan nodded at the disciple of an aristocratic family. Then he coiled his snake body under the water and rested. He originally thought that these cultivators were waiting for others to arrive because they could not get rid of the huge rock here. After all, those who could appear here at this time were practically the best among the treasure hunters. Otherwise, they would not have arrived here before Lin Yuan. However, from the looks of it, the existence of the huge rock should be part of some kind of mechanism. If they rashly destroyed the huge rock, they might even directly destroy the entrance to the secret realm. Thus, these people were afraid of taking action. As time passed, more and more cultivators gathered here. According to their respective factions, they gradually formed 4 small square formations: Foreign Cultivators, Northern Frontier Loose Cultivators, Northern Frontier Sects, Northern Frontier Aristocratic Families. As for the members of the Embroidered Guard who followed the woman's surname Jun, they very naturally blended in with the Foreign Cultivators. However, due to Lin Yuan's existence, they were very conservative and almost did not greet anyone. It was as if they were worried that Lin Yuan would be able to tell that they were spies of the Embroidered Guard from their words and actions. However, none of the cultivators from these 4 factions approached Lin Yuan. After all, Lin Yuan was a monster. Even if he had been conferred the title of God of the Northern Frontier, this fact could not be changed. Under these circumstances, perhaps even the fellow cultivators who were laughing and chatting a moment ago could become existences that could take their lives, let alone a monster. Boom! Inexplicably, a sudden clap of thunder erupted underwater. There were no dark clouds or torrential rain. Everyone looked on helplessly as a purple lightning python illuminated the gloomy depths of the water. The side of Lin Yuan's face was illuminated by the purple lightning. At this moment, Lin Yuan ended his nap and turned his head to look at the area where the lightning python was. His heterochromatic eyes reflected the lightning, as if two clusters of purple flames had ignited within them. Boom! Another clap of thunder. The purple lightning python struck the huge rock. Under everyone's gaze, the strange scene of lightning under the water slowly pushed the huge rock away. Soon, the door to the secret realm would open. However, the truly bitter battle had begun. It had already begun. Lin Yuan seemed to be taking a leisurely stroll as he wriggled his snake body and approached the trembling huge rock and the lightning python. No one treated him as a target to hunt. After all, the reputation of the black snake of the northern frontier was much more resounding than that of ordinary experts. Chapter 321. However, just because others did not treat Lin Yuan as prey did not mean that the scene was thriving. Almost at the same time that the boulder began to tremble, the cultivators present had already drawn their weapons and began to use their own methods to kill those unknown fellow cultivators. It seemed that they wanted to minimize the number of competitors before entering the secret realm. In fact, this was how it should be. This was because most of the cultivators present did not want to monopolize everything in the secret realm. Most of them were people who had been stuck in the airborne realm for a long time. The purpose of participating in the exploration of the secret realm this time was to find suitable spiritual items, then directly consume and refine them to help themselves break through the bottleneck. If this was not the case, when a secret realm opened in the northern frontier, and even Lin Yuan, the ruler, had come, the other cultivators would at most come to drink a mouthful of soup. How would they dare to choose to enter the secret realm on the same day as Lin Yuan? As soon as these cultivators found suitable spiritual items, they would immediately eat them. Why would they care whether or not others needed them? Formation. Lin Yuan heard the woman surnamed Jun roar in the midst of the chaos. Looking around, Lin Yuan's eyes quickly flashed with a smile. These idle cultivators did not care about what kind of background they had. They did not even care about Lin Yuan and the others, let alone a group of foreign cultivators. Therefore, almost all the cultivators from the northern frontier began to encircle and kill the foreign cultivators. The thoughts of these northern frontier cultivators were very simple. Even if they did not get those spiritual items in the end, the secret realm in the northern frontier should be digested by the people of the northern frontier. It was not the turn of these foreign cultivators at all. The woman surnamed Jun's roar was like a stabilizing needle. Of course, the quality of the embroidered uniform guards was also there. After being caught off guard at the beginning, the members of the embroidered uniform guards quickly broke away from the current battle. One by one, they took out the cannons at their waists and gathered together. Next, the woman surnamed Jun did not need to command them anymore. The cannons in their hands roared, and a fiery red barrage instantly shattered the water and swept toward the cultivators who were still fighting. Some of the cultivators were blown up on the spot by the powerful cannons. There were also some cultivators who jumped out of the battlefield that was harvesting human lives. There was a bit of fear in their eyes. No one would have thought that there was an organized force among these foreign cultivators. Everyone was equipped with hand cannons that could shoot underwater. Such a force could no longer be from one side. These people were obviously the elite forces under the Xinwu dynasty. Not bad. Lin Yuan nodded inwardly. Although the cannons of this world seemed to be backward, their power was even more terrifying than those in his previous world. A single point of fire was not enough to make people feel apprehensive. However, when these people formed a formation and shot out a barrage of bullets, even Lin Yuan himself had to temporarily avoid the spearhead. Bang! A dull sound of collision rang out. A member of the embroidered uniform guard directly fell to the ground. With Lin Yuan's keen dynamic vision, he quickly discovered a thin and long bloodstain on the neck of the fallen corpse. An expert had made a move. Moreover, it was an expert who specialized in hidden weapons. Lin Yuan's pupils constricted slightly, and he began to scan the crowd. He had to be on guard against this kind of silent method of taking someone's life. However, compared to the clueless embroidered uniform guard, Lin Yuan's gaze quickly fixed on a bare-chested, brawny man. The star of misfortune, Chen Guanshan, was a wanderer of the Qingjiang dynasty. He specialized in hidden weapons and movement techniques. The hidden weapon he was famous for was called the Coil of 1,000 Threads. It was somewhat similar to the method Lin Yuan had seen in the movies of his previous world where top killers used steel wires to kill people. However, this method of controlling steel wires used true qi to control objects. The steel wires were hidden in the air, and the slightest bit of carelessness could lead to death. Normally, the Coil of 1,000 Threads was worn by Chen Guanshan. However, at this moment, Chen Guanshan was bare-chested. It was obvious that the dead embroidered uniform guard was his handiwork. Of course, only someone like Lin Yuan, who placed great importance on the census and had the shifter emperor asking for information from the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, knew of Chen Guanshan's background. If it were anyone else, they would never have guessed that Chen Guanshan was actually a hidden weapon expert just by looking at his bare upper body and bulging muscles. Bang! Bang! Another 2 members of the embroidered uniform guard fell. The cause of death was still the thin and long bloodstain on their necks. The woman surnamed Jin also looked around for a moment, but she still couldn't lock onto her target. She only looked at Lin Yuan suspiciously for a moment before she gritted her teeth and said, "Form the ring formation." According to Lin Yuan's previous world, the ring formation was actually a group of people forming a circle. Under such circumstances, there was almost no blind spot. Therefore, even the most powerful hidden weapon expert wouldn't be able to succeed easily. Treating the symptoms, but not the root cause, Lin Yuan couldn't help but sneer in his heart when he saw the woman's decision. There were still 26 members of the embroidered uniform guard. If they formed the ring formation, they would indeed be able to help each other. However, their opponent was always lurking in the dark, waiting for them to reveal a flaw. As for the embroidered uniform guard, they were always tense. Once the confrontation between the 2 sides dragged on, the matter would quickly be dragged out of the woman's control. "The secret realm is open," someone in the crowd shouted, immediately attracting everyone's attention. The boulder blocking the Rift Valley was indeed lifted up by some strange power. It floated quietly in the water, revealing the Rift Valley that was previously covered, as well as an azure light screen. It was unknown what they would see after passing through the screen of light. However, after passing through the screen of light, they would directly enter the secret realm. The woman surnamed Jun turned her gaze and said with a gloomy face, "Maintain the formation and move towards the entrance of the secret realm." If 26 people wanted to maintain the same pace, it would be easy for a professional army to do so. However, for an organization like the embroidered uniform guard that was similar to spies and secret agents, they naturally didn't have such training. Therefore, it was naturally very difficult for them to maintain the formation and move. The other cultivators swarmed towards the entrance of the pocket dimension. As for the members of the embroidered uniform guard, they were still dawdling their way forward. Although they felt somewhat sullen, there was still an invisible threat all around them. Not many of them dared to leave their formation so recklessly. Seeing her subordinates hanging their heads in dejection after being suppressed, the woman surnamed Jin could only start to cheer them on. "Don't worry, don't panic. Take it slow. We bang, bang." The woman surnamed Jun hadn't even finished speaking when 2 more embroidered uniform guard members died. Chapter 322. However, this time, it wasn't Chen Guanshan who made a move. Instead, it was Lin Yuan, who had been secretly observing the situation. In this environment where water was everywhere, it would be too easy for Lin Yuan to use his formless eyes to take away a few lives. Although Chen Guanshan had already rushed into the secret plane's entrance, his previous actions had still planted a seed of fear in the hearts of these embroidered guard members. Therefore, Lin Yuan only needed to secretly add fuel to the fire, and he would be able to directly raise their fear to panic. As far as the members of the embroidered guard were concerned, it was as if there was an invisible ghost roaming around, wantonly reaping the lives of their comrades. None of them knew if they would be the next to die, so the invisible pressure they felt was extremely terrifying. Bang! Another corpse fell to the ground. Finally, the taut string was completely pulled apart. These embroidered guard members no longer cared about their formation. They all put down the hand cannons in their hands and swarmed towards the secret plane's entrance. After all, since the person who had been secretly attacking them was still killing people, it meant that he definitely hadn't entered the secret plane. Therefore, if they entered the secret plane now and quickly distanced themselves from the people behind them, they would be safe. In the midst of the panic, the woman surnamed Jun's orders didn't have any effect. After all, the last 2 times she had spoken, it had only been effective for a very short period of time. This time, everyone was looking out for themselves. Naturally, no one would pay attention to her. The hunt has begun. Lin Yuan walked to the side of the woman surnamed Jun. His eyes flickered with a cold light as he spoke in a low voice. These 5 simple words were like a heavy hammer that smashed into the woman surnamed Jun's chest. In an instant, it was as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out of her. Even her footsteps became weak, and her eyes revealed a trace of despair. The embroidered guard members gathered here were definitely not weak. However, they weren't that strong either. If they were caught by Lin Yuan alone or in small numbers, they would definitely die. Originally, everyone had maintained their rationality. She could still manage to coordinate and not give Lin Yuan much of an opportunity to take advantage of. But now, the rationality in the minds of the embroidered guard members had been completely erased. Right now, they only wanted to live. Therefore, the battle between them and Lin Yuan had changed from a competition in which Lin Yuan had a slight advantage to a hunting ritual where Lin Yuan hunted them down. Lin Yuan turned his head and glanced at the woman surnamed Jun, who was in a daze. A trace of mockery flashed in his eyes. In the end, this woman wasn't a powerful figure. She looked at the problem too superficially. She probably didn't even consider that the lake was currently surrounded by the Beijing Guard Army. Even if she left the lake, she wouldn't be able to easily get past Lei Fan. Furthermore, judging from Chun Guanshan's actions, Lin Yuan was certain that he wasn't the only one targeting the embroidered guard in the dark. After all, although Chun Guanshan was an independent cultivator from the Azure River Empire, the organization that had taught a hidden weapon expert like Chun Guanshan was in existence similar to the embroidered guard in the Azure River Empire. Even if the Azure River Empire and Frost Empire couldn't send a large number of people across the Hunduan Mountains, it wouldn't be a problem for them to send a few elites to kill the embroidered guard. Who asked Lei Qiuxing to be so stubborn? The situation was clearly very tense. Even the resources in the national treasury might not be enough to support a few more large-scale battles. However, Lei Qiuxing just wasn't willing to lower his head. He kept retreating as he continued to fight the Azure River Empire and Frost Empire. The territories that the embroidered guard wanted had already been taken by force. However, Lei Qiuxing just wasn't willing to sign a peace treaty to cede those territories to the embroidered guard. Lin Yuan didn't understand Lei Qiuxing's actions, but he could understand Lei Qiuxing's feelings. Lei Qiuxing's position wasn't rightful to begin with. Even if those people didn't say it out loud, they would still talk about him in secret. If Lei Qiuxing couldn't make great contributions while he was on the throne, even if the Lei clan was able to secure the throne, he would still leave behind a terrible name in the history books. Let alone ceding territory. Even if he just defended it, he would be cursed to death by the scholars of the previous dynasty in the Xinwu dynasty. Many emperors in Lin Yuan's previous life had similar psychological burdens, so it wasn't strange. What Lin Yuan found strange was that according to the information he had, Chun Guanshan actually had nothing to do with the organization behind him. At most, he would deal with the embroidered guard out of respect for the person who had taught him how to cultivate. However, he definitely wouldn't do it now, nor would he act so decisively. His actions were more like he was trying to curry favor with Lin Yuan. Thinking up to this point, Lin Yuan had already passed through the door of the secret realm. Following the feeling of constantly falling, the last bit of light in front of Lin Yuan's eyes was completely extinguished. When he regained his vision, he discovered that he had already appeared in an unfamiliar body of water. All sorts of aquatic plants floated around him, as well as colorful corals. Below him was pure white sand. When he raised his head to look up, he saw a clear and transparent water surface. At this moment, sunlight shone through the water's surface onto the white sand. The entire scene was magnificent. But what about those people who had entered the secret realm before him? What about the rumored aquatic monsters? What about the water-washed spiritual objects that were everywhere? After a moment of silence, Lin Yuan used his thoughts to communicate with the system. Stupid system. Did I transmigrate again? This place didn't seem like a secret realm filled with dangers and opportunities at all. It was more like a vacation spot. Lin Yuan didn't even see the existence of any other creatures other than himself. Detecting a large number of wisdom state level 4 demonic beasts approaching. Host, please be careful to avoid them. The system didn't directly reply to Lin Yuan. Instead, a warning popped up. Lin Yuan was slightly startled, his face full of confusion. Wisdom state level 4 demonic beasts? He still had to avoid them? What kind of joke was this? In the next moment, Lin Yuan suddenly saw a stretch of white figures from the corner of his eyes. When he looked again, he saw countless small silver fish about a foot long approaching him. Lin Yuan didn't even have time to count the exact number. In any case, these foot-long silver fish meandered through the water surface of several hundred meters. It was extremely visually impactful. Isn't this 2F** King generous? The corner of Lin Yuan's mouth fiercely twitched twice. He didn't dare to hesitate at all. He turned around and swept in the direction where there wasn't any movement. The foot-long fish formed a school of several hundred meters long. Each and every one of them was an existence of wisdom state level 4 demonic beasts. Even if a void realm cultivator encountered such a school, he would at most be able to hold on for 2 to 3 breaths of time before being gnawed into a pile of bones. No wonder the system didn't even have the intention to talk nonsense with him and directly told him to run. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lord YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.